and then we'll get the episode started.
You can just tell he was ready to go.
Well, I heard him take the breath in, and I was like, ready for it?
I was like, it's coming. I might as well just do it right now before it starts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sorta My Podcast. My name is Vincent Herman, Vin The Human. Sitting to my left,
Stewart Perkins.
And right across the table from him...
There's nobody over there. Oh, you're talking about... Sean King. No nickname needed.
Guys, go over to our Sorta My Brand and our Sorta My Comics pages on Facebook. Give those a like. Subscribe to Sorta My Brand on YouTube and follow Sorta My Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. You're checking this out somewhere, so while here, why not like, comment, and share? It's the best way to get us out in front of people, and it helps us out a whole lot. And of course, all of our personal social media is down in the description below. Guys, this is going to be a different kind of SMP episode today because we're going all wrestling on this one. This one's a little different. And I thought a great way to start this out would be for us to talk about our connection to wrestling for those who may not be keen to all that and where we got our starts and why we love it. So, you're the senior...
Jerk.
You're the senior fan here.
Well,
Sean,
I'm also wearing a singlet under my pants.
That got weird.
No, it'll get weird later when I show it to you. No, I started watching wrestling back in the '80s, back when Hulk Hogan and Macho Man were around, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, all those guys. And just kind of, I follow it on a roller coaster, and then I got involved with Revolutionary Championship Wrestling, Dirk Cunningham, all those guys. I got involved with doing their audio and playing a bunch of different roles there, and it's just kind of taken off from there. Cool. And here I am today. Wrestling made me the man I am today. Which isn't saying much. Yeah.
I might want to take that away
from you right now, Stu.
They might want to start closing up shop.
It was that accident during the semifinals. Huh?
Right.
Stu, where'd you get involved?
I've been a wrestling fan pretty much my whole life. My family was wrestling fans, so I remember very young watching the WrestleMania ladder match between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon.
Oh hell yeah,
the bad guy. That's one of my earliest wrestling memories.
There you go.
So I've been an off and on fan for years, and at one point was going to become a wrestler, but I did not. Local promotion was training people, and a friend of mine. He was wrestling, and he was like, "You should come and try out with me." And I was like, "I might." And then he broke his neck and got paralyzed, and I said, "Nope, I am afraid of doing stuff like that." So,
yeah.
So I did not. So I am a fan from afar, where I cannot take a chair shot or otherwise break my own neck because I'm clumsy like that.
Is it
Donnie?
Yeah.
I went to school with him, and he was like, "We should be a tag team and all this stuff," and I was like, "Oh, I'm into this idea."
What was his last name so people can look that up if they want to?
Is it Baker?
No.
I want to say Baker. It's been so long since I've seen or talked to him. It's probably been close to 10 years since I've seen her talk to him.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to him in a long time.
So if you guys want to know what Stu's talking about there, look up Donnie Baker, Portsmouth, Ohio on Google, maybe, if we've got the last name right. If not,
I know there
we're
definitely
sorry.
stuff in the paper about it. And his recovery, because he's been working really hard on recovery. Last time I spoke with him, I seen him, he's able to actually move a lot more.
Awesome.
So,
good.
But yeah, that made me not want to physically do it anymore.
I was a late bloomer in the wrestling scene. I knew my family enjoyed it, and I caught some WCW stuff sparsely because that was their brand. But I really didn't start watching until, I want to say, 2002, 2003, just before they split the brands.
Yeah.
My first WrestleMania was actually WrestleMania 18, which actually, if I had to pick any, Rock versus Hulk Hogan, that's not a bad place to start.
It was a pretty special match.
Yeah.
Just the crowd reaction really.
Yeah, even for me,
was unique.
Just coming in, I've only been watching for a few months, and I still got every amount of weight from that match. I knew how important it was without following those guys' careers. And then I was just hooked. It was kind of the tail end of the Attitude Era. I think they were getting ready to go into Ruthless Aggression.
Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah.
We're in the reality era now.
Yes.
That's what they call it. Kids today will never, wrestling fans today will never, newer fans will never understand what it's like to be in the days before DVR when there was Raw and Nitro going head to head.
Yes.
And your uncle was a Nitro fan, but you're a Raw fan, and you're sitting there and you're just trying to convince him to at least flip back to Raw during the commercials so you can at least see what's going on, because unless you're home with a VCR, you couldn't record that stuff.
Well, luckily my family recorded a bunch of that stuff on VHS tapes, and they were always alluding to all these like special things that had happened during the Attitude Era. So I went back and I watched all that stuff, and so I like to say that I'm a fan of the Attitude Era, but I wasn't there for any of it.
You don't have to have been there to be a fan,
Oh, yeah.
especially with the network now. Like, that's the best value of the network. Not only are the what used to be a $60 pay-per-view $10 and makes it viable for you to get, but just the amount of hours of old footage and stuff that they've uploaded, old shows and stuff.
Yeah,
you can go back and I bet I could sit down and watch every single thing on the network right now, and I would die before I finished.
That's a great ad for the network there, Stu. WWE. Come on, send us some money. Like, we'll keep doing those. They might not want to by the end of this episode.
I just use the network to go back and relive those great moments like the Shockmeister.
I like
the Shockmaster. Sorry.
I like going back and I'll watch old Royal Rumbles. I love Battle Royals, which is segue.
That is a great segue into what we're going to talk about first here, and that is the pre-show WrestleMania. And Stu, I think you're the only one here who watched that, so why don't you go ahead and head that up, tell us about it, and what your thoughts were on it.
Well, now, I feel like the pre-show it's a waste in general. Now, I say this because, so WrestleMania this year was 7 hours counting the pre-show. You're talking 7 hours of wrestling.
They hammered that in, too. They kept saying it.
But here's the catch. Those first 2 hours of pre-show, I think there was only like 35 or 40 minutes of actual wrestling.
Yeah.
And as a wrestling fan, that's fine to me because I only watch the parts of the pre-show I need to. I'll go get a snack, go mess around. I don't really pay attention to this stuff except for the actual matches. But the people in the arena who paid hundreds of dollars to be at WrestleMania, like, that's 2 hours they sit there basically for nothing. Yeah. For only a few minutes worth of action. So I really think that if you're going to have a 2 hour pre-show, an hour of that should be
in-ring action. When you go shopping, you get your WWE gear.
I know. Well, and I understand that when it's like, they're not letting people in till 5 o'clock.
Right.
They don't let you in the door, so you got that 2 hours, and it's not going to be, it's people fill it in. But like this year, people were already almost completely filled at 5. They let them in like at 3 or something. Right. So those people sat in that arena for 10 hours. Like, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. Like, honestly, like, I couldn't almost do the 5 hours of actual WrestleMania this year.
Even in my heyday of watching, I don't think I could have commit to 10 hours.
I can remember even just this last WrestleMania when 11 o'clock rolled around, and I thought, okay, it's going to be over soon.
It should be over.
Wait a second. Hold on.
There's 2 matches left.
There's 2 matches left. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I got to go to work tomorrow.
That was my response. I was like, wait, there are 2 matches left. There are 3 matches left.
Yeah, we kept bringing
I was like, wait, why is there... Oh, my goodness, they're going to midnight. Yeah. But as for the actual matches, I love Battle Royals. I love all Battle Royals, except for TNA's Reverse Battle Royals, which are just the dumbest thing ever created.
I don't even know what that is.
Reverse Battle Royal is literally... Everybody starts outside the ring, and only the X amount of people that can get in the ring first get to stay in the ring and be in the Battle Royal. Then they get thrown out of the Battle Royal. And then at the very end, the last 2 people have a regular match.
Who thought let's combine the Royal Rumble
it's called
with the
Vince
Lumberjack
Russo.
match?
He's called Vince Russo. You can look it up.
Okay, so useless.
Oh my God.
You can look up Vince Russo and you'll see why he comes up with ideas like that. The Judy Bagwell on a pole match. I mean, these are things that he's come up with.
The more wrestling
He's
podcasts
probably the one that came up with
the
a 6-sided ring, which I cannot stand.
They got rid of it again.
I was okay with that.
They keep getting rid of it and bringing it back, and I'm like, just choose.
Yeah.
If you want that to be your identity, cool.
Yeah.
Just stick with
fine.
it.
Right.
But the match was okay. I mean, it was. They did 2 things about this particular Andre Battle Royal. Number 1, no call up guys, no NXT guys. It was all regular roster guys. No returns, no nothing. Everybody started in the ring like at the same time.
Right.
I don't like that. It's messy. It's chaotic. When you've got literally 30 people in a ring at one time fighting, you can't tell who's what and what's going on.
But hasn't that always been the nature of the Battle
Royale?
Royale?
Like usually they kind of all come out sort of separately and they're a little slower. I mean, like Royal Rumble, obviously it's a time thing.
Yeah.
But Battle Royals, like, general, they're not as bad about that. But, like, they were this year. And maybe they are. But I don't really like that as much. But the overall Battle Royal was okay. I like Battle Royals. One of my favorite things about Battle Royals. It's the only time you're ever going to see in the year. You're going to see a lower card jobber beat up a main event star.
Yeah.
Because for that 15 minutes or whatever until he's going to win or he's going to get thrown out near the end, you get to see the nobodies beat up the main characters because you get to see them do that for killing time.
Yeah.
Right.
But this particular one, when they finished it, they did the Bray Wyatt thing. I already knew that Matt was going to win when it was Matt Hardy, who'd never won an Andre Battle Royal, and then Mojo Rawley and Baron Corbin, who had both won one, are the only three left, and they made a big deal about it. And I'm like, I don't think they're giving it to a two-time winner because they've not given it away yet. And then, of course, the Bray Wyatt thing to play on their story where he got previously thrown into the Lake of Reincarnation, and now he's back as non-evil Bray Wyatt. And, you could say what you want, good or bad, about the broken universe stuff. It's done great for his career. So, right. I mean, I applaud him for that no matter how you look at it beyond that. And I hate Bray's new butcher apron gimmick. Like, it's ugly. I think it looks terrible on him. It's weird. And then he did the weird, so he does the Sister Abigail.
Choices brought to you by Stewart Perkins.
Well, he did the finish was...
Put some frills on it.
I know.
I mean...
maybe some sequins.
And pink.
Sequins would be good.
Pink. He needs more
sequins.
pink.
If
he's going to be a housekeeper, be a proper housekeeper. If he's the broken housekeeper now.
Oh Lord!
If that's his gimmick. But he grabbed Baron Corbin, I believe, into the Sister Abigail, and instead of hitting the Sister Abigail, he flung him into Matt, who threw him out. And that's now their double team is flinging from Sister Abigail into the Twist of Fate, and it's the most ineffective weird double team I've ever seen because it would be more effective if he Sister Abigail them, then they bounced up and ate the Twist of Fate.
Just on paper, that sounds sloppy.
It's just weird because he dips them down, kisses them on the forehead, and then they run into the other guy's finisher.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's not a double team. He could just close, he could just Irish whip the guy into the finisher, and it's as effective, maybe more.
Right.
But so that ended that way, and that was okay. I mean, it was a fun little battle royal. So I mean, it was what it was supposed to be. Following that, you had your Cruiserweight Championship match. And I'm going to be real, I don't really pay a lot of attention to 205 Live. I want to, but I can't. I can't bring the time to do it. I watch some highlights sometimes to kind of see if anything important's happened or if they're doing something finally. And for all intents and purposes, for everything I've heard, they're doing great wrestling. Right. It's just an hour. It's an extra hour. I just don't have. I'm already watching 5 hours a week of wrestling just in SmackDown and Raw. I mean, that's just that. And then if you paid attention, if I watch any other wrestling, if I watch Impact or if I watch New Japan or anything, or Ring of Honor, I mean, there's ridiculous hours more, and I just don't have that time.
Right.
So 205 Live is not really something I watch a lot of, but I understand, I know these guys a little well. My biggest problem with this match was it was a good match. It wasn't great. They've had a better match, apparently, from what I heard from a lot of people. Their match on 205 Live was way better than this particular match. My biggest thing I hated about this match was they said heart and soul so many times. Because this build, it was matched, the whole build of this one is that there was two faces going for this title that had to be dropped after the Enzo scandal. And Cedric Alexander, the guy who won, was the guy who was going to go against Enzo when he got dropped, so he kind of had to win here.
Right.
And they build it as the heart of 205 Live versus the soul of 205 Live. And they said heart and soul 8 million times in this match. And I'm like, I get it. They're the heart and soul. And at one point in the match, Mustafa Ali, who lost, was yelling at Cedric, "Show me the heart! Show me the heart!" And I'm just waiting for his finishing move to be Kalima. He just pulls on Mustafa Ali's heart out of his chest. But
no time for heart and soul,
kid.
Dr. Jones.
Well, Mustafa Ali, he could have been the kid.
Oh man, that would have been great.
But I mean, it's just one of those things where it's just that the thing that's one of my biggest things. My biggest issues with WWE today is they love their buzzwords.
Yes,
they love them so much that it's just you want to strangle Michael Cole 20 times in a show.
Oh, that's true of any WWE event. Anytime I hear his voice,
but now
it's crazy.
Now it's not fun like it used to be. It used to be a part of the show. Now it's just a like bad overlay.
He made a comment about Jeff Hardy recently. What Jeff Hardy did the poetry in motion, and he called it a whisper in the wind.
Oh yeah, I heard that
on Raw.
Yeah.
They turned right around, and Corey Graves called him out on it, and he said, "That's not whisper in the wind. That's not whisper in the wind. That's poetry in motion." And Michael Cole was like, "Oh, I know what it's called. I'm the one that named it."
God damn it, Michael.
And I was like, "Come on!" And then when he actually hit the actual whisper in the wind, he was like, "That's the whisper in the wind." And I was like, Cole, that ship has sailed, man. Just leave it be.
This is why, and something I learned or I was taught when doing wrestling commentary. If you don't know the actual name of the move, it's a reverse Indian something. I kid you not. If you hear, if you hear the word Indian in wrestling commentary, that's the commentator making something up. And I have almost every RCW show. There's a reverse Indian something. I've done reverse Indian inverted deathlock. I've done the flying reverse Indian torpedo missile. You know, I mean, just whatever.
Throw an adjective at it.
Yeah, just whatever. You know, and it's amazing and astounding. Yeah, Cole is. But the thing that gets me about is his longevity, though.
Yeah,
like how long
he's there to
doing
stay.
it. You know, and
you figure that as an on-screen character that. You know, after the Heidenreich thing, the fact that he's still there, you got to give him props. Because I don't know that I would continue working there after that particular, terrible. Like that storyline, you know?
That's when Vince has picked his guys, he does not give up on
That's true. So. That's very true. But moving on for brevity's sake.
Captain Backney.
Gone. Women's Battle Royal was what it was. It was actually better than the men's, in my opinion. They had some really good moments. Most importantly, as I mentioned before we started recording, the NXT women, they got a real good standout. A lot of the really good wrestlers there, except for the lady that's the Great Khali trained to be just like him. So, I mean, well done. She has trained him. He's trained her to wrestle just like him. So, I mean, he succeeded.
Are they calling her the Punjabi princess?
No, but that would be amazing. I would enjoy it. But she wears this orange outfit, like all body outfit, that looks like a prison get-up. I don't understand why. Like, it looks like a prison uniform, but it's not supposed to be. It's a traditional Punjabi, I guess, like gown pant combo. But the orange they use looks like a prison uniform.
It's a pantsuit. Much like Hillary Clinton.
A few things about the Battle Royal that stuck out to me. One, because of the way we watched it on the network, not on cable.
Right.
So there's a commercial break. So what they did for that, which looks weird if you watch it on the network especially, Becky Lynch came out first. She got an entrance. She got a full entrance.
Right.
Then everybody else came out, like in a parade, just a bunch of girls.
Right.
26 other girls, or 25, however many. And then Sasha Banks and Bayley got entrances. And that was everybody. So they literally called out only 3 people that got entrances. And then Carmella was thrown out first. She's the Miss Money in the Bank, big heel right now. Now she's the SmackDown Women's Champion. She cashed in this week.
Yeah,
but they all ganged up and threw her out. Then Dana Brooke, for whatever reason, she did something, and they were like, "Nah, the heck with her." And they everybody threw her out.
Right.
And then they went to normal match. And then the NXT women, they beat up the main roster girls like real big. And there was a big NXT chant where they all bonded together. And then they started getting thrown out finally. And then it came down to Bayley and Sasha Banks, who's had a big story where they broke up as friends. And then somehow now they're sort of still breaking up because WWE tends to have amnesia sometimes.
Right.
And I'm like, they already broke up where Sasha beat up Bayley in the backstage, but now they're teasing tension and being like, oh, they got to get on the same page, and it's like, this has already happened. What's going on here?
Right.
So they did a thing where they hugged each other and shook hands or whatever, getting ready to, okay, one of us is going to win. And Bayley, she actually was the one to throw Sasha out, so she did the heelish thing, and everybody was like, wow. And then for whatever reason, Naomi slid under the rope and was like, oh, I'm not eliminated, and then beat up Bayley and threw her out, and she won. And it was one of those what?
Bayley always seems to get that shaft.
Well, they don't. I don't know that they like her on the main roster.
Okay.
Phrasing.
Yes.
Phrasing.
I did.
Phrasing.
But
you guys are the ones with your minds in the gutter.
Always.
Always.
But yeah, like I said, the highlights of that match overall, it wasn't bad. It was better than the men's, which is usually it's a rarity for the majority of women they have,
right.
Because they still do have a few of those women that are kind of not great wrestlers yet. But they've really replaced a lot of those with actually really good indie workers. So as far as that goes, that was kind of the pre-show. And then, of course, you had your normal stuff where you spent 2 hours with Renee Young and Booker T or somebody. I don't remember who was there. And David Otunga and Sam Roberts, the podcast guy.
Yeah.
So you had all these guys, and generally those are like usually when they talk, I shut off because
I tune them out too.
It's a weird...
No, the best one they did was I don't remember the Royal Rumble. They had Medusa / Wonder Blaze on there, and they had JBL, and they had the best banter because somebody went off script, and I don't know who.
Right.
And they JBL was ribbing her,
right,
and she was just F you, and she was just being mean to him,
right.
And it was I feel like he was being JBL, but she was just oh hell no. So that was some of the best I've ever seen.
Now, to me, I love JBL on the mic. The guy is a genius. The guy, I mean, aside from the fact that he's a financial genius in real life.
No, yeah.
The guy's a genius on the mic. And that's why I love listening to him.
Whole transition from the APA to JBL was just wonderful. And I loved him and Cena's battles.
And you know, funny story, we would never have JBL, the guy he is now, if not for Eddie Guerrero. Because Eddie Guerrero lost the title to him to coronate him. And that only happened because Eddie Guerrero told Vince, I don't want to be champion anymore. I have drug issues. I have problems of that nature, and I don't want that pressure to get me back in that way. I can't handle being champion. I want to slide down the card a little bit, and maybe I'll come back to it. Mm-hmm. And Vince said, are you sure? I don't really want to do this. And Eddie said, no, I need to drop this title. And they said, well, we'll have him pick it up.
Right.
So, that's just a nice little trivia thing about JBL.
Well, and that and the fact that he basically got fired from was he on Fox or Fox Business Channel or whatever it was for doing the old Sing Heil in Germany.
Oh yeah, God.
Yeah. Which he's back on there though.
Yeah,
of course, given the political structure, that might have got him a raise.
Okay. Well, steering this back,
coming back to the really important stuff.
Let's go ahead and jump into WrestleMania 34.
I feel like
the show itself.
I feel like you're just not giving it. It's WrestleMania.
Well, you're Vincent.
Sorry, little Vince.
As
there.
much he's gonna puke. That's my best Vince McMahon right there.
You're fired. I'm sorry, but the greatest staying slightly on topic while going off topic. DX Triple H as Vince McMahon.
Oh my God.
Was the greatest thing ever. Stop it! I guess what I'm trying to say here is I love dicks.
Dad. Yeah. What happened to protecting that image of yours there?
Dick Ebersol? Dick Nixon?
Okay.
You have to watch
you got to watch the whole thing.
Go back to WWE Network.
Yep.
Go back and watch that segment of Monday Night Raw.
Only $9.99 a month.
and as we were told on WrestleMania, the first month is free. You could have got WrestleMania for free because they told us, I'd say 75 times.
Yes.
The only thing we saw more, which isn't, I know that's not on our itinerary, it's the page here, and we saw that clip from her movie, Fighting With My Family.
Yes.
I'd say another 700,000
Well, you
times.
told somebody you got the share.
Which actually did look pretty funny. The Rock.
That scene is funny, but that's probably the only funny scene in the movie. That's the sad part, because that's all that we've seen.
Right.
And then her, oh man, she got lambasted online so bad about that, because she's like, Paige here, and she just has all that makeup on, which looks great from a distance in the ring.
Right.
But this close to the camera, just, you're just like, oh man, she looks, that's not great.
All right, to get on to a different page, WrestleMania 34. First off, we had the Intercontinental Championship. We're going to go ahead and skip over the whole national anthem and all that stuff, your typical opening ceremonies and stuff. Let's just get right into the meeting.
That's unpatriotic, man. I'm surprised coming from a veteran.
That's the second time you've tried to make it political. That is not this podcast.
No, not political. Patriotic.
Sean has drawn his line in the sand, and he will die on it.
This is the hill?
That's right.
This is your hill?
This is my hill. I didn't have to climb very high. I'm old. That's what you get never called me a senior. Drew.
Hey, it's a wonder you don't work for most news stations.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so we're going to start off with the Intercontinental Championship. It was a triple threat match between Seth Rollins, The Miz, and Finn Balor. And honestly, it was a pretty good match. I think it did what it needed to do, but it was your atypical triple threat match. Three guys start out, one gets thrown in, two guys continue, another one gets thrown out, and the next two go. It was your round robin match.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the match. One thing, and going back historically, I have to admit, I'm surprised. When I first started seeing Miz, when he first came up, I didn't think I didn't think he was going to make it. And I can remember his first appearance on Raw, and he could not say WWEshop.com. And I thought, brother, if you're struggling with that, it only gets harder from here, And he wasn't even in the ring; he was up at the top of the entrance, and he could not say. I think it was like 3 or 4 times he blew saying WWEshop.com.
Well, he had trouble with that even as an announcer, just like doing the backstage interviews and everything. Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I have to say, I'm really I like watching him now. I didn't like him when he first came up, but I like watching him now. He plays the heel so well. So he's great.
Well, a lot of people say he's one of the last true old school heels they have. Like, as far as, like, his mannerisms, his character, how much he keeps kayfabe, and things of that nature. And I will say that, as a fan, I hate The Miz. But I hate him the right way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, when The Miz wins...
You're supposed to.
When The Miz wins through cheating, through the Miz Crotch, through help, etc., I get upset, and the logic here is wrong because the referee is an idiot, kind of deal.
Right.
Because you're supposed to. That's how you're supposed to. I don't hate The Miz, because I think The Miz is a great wrestler.
Yes.
He sells it.
He sells well. He does good. His overall style is good. It is. They've made a point of this in story too, that it's a softer style. It is a safe style, and that's not a bad thing because you look at these guys getting crippled at 25.
Yeah.
Speaking of Paige earlier, she's retired now because
of a neck
she
injury,
took neck injury that just went. And you look at guys like Edge and Stone Cold, So it's not necessarily a bad thing to have safe wrestlers. You got to have both.
Yes.
So, it just overall look and such of that nature. I enjoy that. And it was really weird because in this particular match, you basically, in a weird way, had 3 faces. Balor's a face. Rollins is a face, which I would prefer him to be heel because he's a better heel.
Yeah.
But that's, again, neither here nor there. And Miz, because he's just had his kid, they're really playing him up much softer heel than he's been because they're playing up that new dad thing.
Yes.
And they made a big point of that. So, the whole match is a weirdly 3-face match, which is, not a bad thing. Right. Because that's one thing I don't like about wrestling sometimes is they they live and die on this heel-face dichotomy. And sometimes, it's nice to see 2 heels, 2 faces.
Right.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, heels are good guys. Heels are bad guys. Faces are good guys.
Honestly, if they don't know that already, I doubt they made it this far.
You never know. Maybe it's true.
Maybe this is their intro.
And faces is short for baby face. And now you see the logic. Why not?
But
and then there's tweeners, which really mess you up.
Yeah, because they're
like Steve Austin.
Yeah, those are the vigilante types.
Yes.
But this particular match was good. It's a good opener. It's better. I like it better than having a world title match at the beginning because they've done that in the past.
What the hell? That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, they did the triple main event last year, and they opened with the I think it was AJ Styles as a champion then.
Yeah.
So that's two WrestleManias in a row. That's actually pretty cool. As an AJ Styles fan, that's amazing.
Yeah,
we'll get to
I
that.
love AJ Styles.
But this was it's a good opener. It's the kind of opener you want for the show. It's high impact, but not so overwhelming that the rest of the show can't compete.
Yeah.
Which is a problem that they've had before too. Because if the opening is really good and your ending isn't, no matter how much variance, it's going to be a downer. Right. This WrestleMania suffers from that massively. Right. But we'll get to that. I will note that Seth Rollins is apparently a massive Game of Thrones fan.
Really?
He's Kingslayer. For a while, they were calling his knee the King's Landing for a little bit, and then he came out this year with a White Walker look. That was a White Walker from Game of Thrones.
Contacts.
And a lot of the people were making jokes that he stole Roman's contacts from a year ago.
Right.
Roman had the super blue eyes for a while.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty funny, given that they're shield relation. So he just was
Next,
like,
he's going to be brought out, big honking dude's going to carry him out like on a backpack and everything, and the guy that carries him only says one word. And you find out it's actually an amalgam of 3 words: hold the door, hold the door.
Oh, and the way
it's going to be win the title, so it's going to be Weidel.
That dude ends up holding the guy against the barricade.
He throws
and putting him in, and then at the count out, he holds the door.
But I mean, it was good. It was a good match. It did what it was supposed to. It did. It hyped up the crowd, especially after the 2-hour. Like I said, the 2-hour wait that they've already been there.
It was lukewarm in a good way, like in the appropriate way.
Yeah.
You know? Nothing special, but nothing like, I'm not going to be posting about it on social media.
No, I do have a question about Finn Balor though. He was rocking the rainbows pretty good, which did make me question: is he making a statement with that?
He is. I do know that's that shirt. And that particular shirt with the rainbow colors in his... I know that there's a thing about that. I don't know the exact details, but I know it says in support of the LGBTQ community. I think that's the whole moniker now.
Yeah.
And I know that it's a major statement on that.
Okay.
I don't know, and I've heard, I don't know the details for sure, but sales of that shirt actually, some of that goes to charities.
Oh, very cool.
And I only know this because Shayna Baszler... not Shayna Baszler. Sonya Deville, who's from Absolution, the former MMA chick. Okay. She is an open lesbian. Okay. And they've made statements about that before, which is funny because they recently made a statement about her being the first openly homosexual wrestler in the WWE, and everyone's like, did they forget about Darren Young? But she made a statement about it, and the fact that his thing was a in support of.
Okay.
He himself, as far as I know, is not.
I just didn't know if he was.
But it was a statement in support of, which is why he's rocking the rainbow socks and the Balor Club symbol that way. I'm not sure what spurred that on because it's kind of just an out of nowhere thing, and he's never said anything.
Maybe him or a family
specific.
member or something or whatever. Yeah.
But that's what that is.
Good for him.
Good. Ultimately, though, we had Seth Rollins coming out with the pinfall over The Miz, becoming the new Intercontinental Champion.
So he's the new King of the North.
Yes.
Yeah. And we've seen Rollins with the belt before.
This was the first time Intercontinental Champion.
He
became a
Grand Slam, right?
Yeah, this completed his Grand Slam.
Okay.
So he's now been basically every title holder and a world title, since you don't need both Universal and World. You just need one of them.
That's what happens when you start watching for 3 months every year.
I believe 2015.
That was his Cersei?
That was the thing. He was a Khaleesi, I believe.
Okay, gotcha.
But that was the WrestleMania where he rode the dragon in.
Right, I got you.
But they made a big deal about that on Raw. Actually, the fact that now he's Grand Slam champion, all 3 members of the Shield are Grand Slam champions.
Right.
Which is just another accolade because they're considered... again, take it how you want, but they're considered to be one of the best factions ever.
Right.
They're definitely one of the best recent factions, this era.
Yeah.
But the ending of this match was really cool. It was a really cool sequence of, usually when they do finisher trading, it's guy hits finisher, the other guy runs in, hits finisher, throws him out of the ring, pins the other dude. Something of that nature, or some kind of thing of that. This one was really cool because Balor had won, hit his finisher, the coup de grace, on The Miz, was pinning The Miz. Seth Rollins curb stomped him onto The Miz, then curb stomped The Miz and pinned The Miz. And that I've never seen that sequence before.
Right.
And there's also a moment where The Miz had Balor in a figure 4, and Rollins hit a frog splash, kind of out of nowhere. They kept the camera work really good for that. And that was another really good sequence. So they had some really good, well thought out sequences. And I always appreciate a match more when they do something that's a little different. As far as that kind of stuff than you see. Like Naomi winning the Battle Royal is another thing. Like it was one of those moments where you're just like, oh, well, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Now there are also times when not seeing it coming is not a good thing. Again, we'll get to that later.
And especially when wrestling's played a lot of the cards that they possibly... I mean, someone gave birth to a hand at one point. So they've really dug deep for new storylines.
Wrestling can be cheesy, but that's not always a bad thing.
It is nice to see something that actually throws you for a loop and goes, oh, this is why I'm still interested. So
that's probably one of the most profound statements ever. Wrestling can be cheesy. Was it the Gobmeister or whatever it was? To me, that was one of the turkey and the egg.
The gobbledygooker.
The gobbledygooker.
Yeah. You know, at one point that was going to be the Undertaker, right?
Yep.
What?
That was originally going to be the plan
that.
for the Undertaker's debut.
That was how Hogan was trying to sell him to Vince.
And then they were like, "How about he just comes out and like beats some people down in a Survivor Series match?" All right, we'll do that. And then Hector Guerrero played the gobbledygooker.
Yeah. Nice.
So none of that prestigious Guerrero family.
I know. Well, you think about what they've contributed to that.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie's
wrestling is crazy what that family.
Yeah,
does.
you can't take any. The gobbledygooker cannot take anything away from that name.
No. I mean, I've better wrestlers have done worse.
Oh yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And Hector's not a slouch. I'm not saying that at all.
No,
I mean,
definitely
Eddie is easily within my top 3 of all time.
Of course.
So.
Yeah.
Moving along, though, we the next matchup we had the SmackDown Women's Championship between Charlotte Flair and Asuka.
Asuka.
That's right. At least once an episode, I butcher someone's name. Of course, I would do it.
Scream at you. You better be careful. Man.
Well, again, this is what I get for watching wrestling 3 months out of the year.
Right.
So,
this was my favorite match tonight.
Although I have started watching Raw and SmackDown again, and we'll get to why later. But
an important point to note here was Charlotte Flair was defending her women's title, SmackDown women's title, and Asuka was technically defending her 900 and some day, 250 some match undefeated streak.
Yeah,
better than
almost
Goldberg's
3 years.
Fake.
Well, Goldberg had a good long streak, but they padded it. It's widely known that it's a padded streak. Yeah. Hers is a legit 250 something, like 253 matches undefeated, and 960 days or 120 days, something like that.
It's crazy.
It's almost 3 full years of undefeated, and I will say that the match was great.
The best.
They did for the second time of the night, mind you, because they did it during the cruiserweight match. But we got to see a Spanish fly off the top rope, which is not a move you see almost ever, and we saw 2 tonight, which was. 2 that night, which was just weird. The fact that they let that book. Usually they won't let you do a big spot like that twice in one night. So I'm not sure what happened there. If that's because different brand type thing. Because 205 Live and SmackDown are different, so the agents were different. But that kind of thing. But you saw that one. There was the suplex off the apron into the outside, which was really vicious.
Oh, Lord.
The overall match was amazing, and it's maybe probably the best purely women's match in the history of WrestleMania. Which doesn't have a great, it's a low bar, mind you. But even once you go forward and you get new great matches, hopefully, this is still, I think, going to be one of those ones that stand the test of time.
It reminded me of there's been a long period of time since Trish Stratus and Victoria, have been gone, where it was more about fluff than it was about wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
This was a brutal match. It was by any standard, women's or men's wrestling, but it was so refreshing to see these two actually get in there, and it wasn't about what they were wearing, and it wasn't about, let's try to be sexy. No, these girls were in there to beat the crap out of each other, and that's exactly what they did.
It was about technique.
And their storyline was good. Yes. They were there because they wanted to be the best. It was literally, she chose Charlotte because literally, to paraphrase Charlotte's father, which they made point of, to be the best, you got to beat the best. Mm-hmm. So she chose Charlotte for that. They were fighting for literally just bragging rights as much as anything else.
Right.
And it wasn't about a guy. It wasn't about whatever ridiculous stipulation or thing that happened. I hate that. Yeah. Because a lot of times they do. They have very petty women matches.
They make them catty,
and they do, and it does. Now, again, as I said before, my issue with this match comes down to the finish. I'm not. After thinking about it, I'm not as mad that Asuka Streak lost to Charlotte.
Right.
They're building Charlotte as their end-all, be-all woman. I assume for that match that everyone thought was going to happen this year, which is Charlotte and Ronda Rousey.
Right.
So if they're going to build towards that, she's got to be the one to break the streak to make her legit because she's lost enough, gotten beat up enough, and whatnot. But this particular ending of the match upset me because Asuka lost to a wounded Charlotte whose arm was out, which would have made her finisher less powerful, if you think about it. But after not taking any real, Charlotte didn't work the leg enough for her to tap out so fast.
Right.
I disliked that they literally just were like, the figure eight is the best submission ever, and let her beat her. And then the second part of that is after the match, Asuka was just smiley, and they were all happy. They weren't playing like they were hurt. And she's just like, Charlotte was ready, and they hugged.
And what made it so much weirder is they interrupted it for John Cena.
And then that's twice. Like I said, that's twice they've done that to Asuka because Ronda's thing happened at the Royal Rumble when Asuka won.
Yeah.
Right. And I just like it. And then turn around on Tuesday, Charlotte lost the title to Carmella after getting beat up by the debuting Iconics, which is the Iconic duo, due to copyright, I guess. That's why their name changed. But Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, they got called up to SmackDown and they beat her up really bad, and then Carmella cashed in, kicked her in the face, and won the title from her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you just gave the streak away to her, and then she just lost to debuting girls and Carmella, who's been kind of a joke lately.
Such a waste.
And I'm just like, that's not a good sequence of events. I wish you would have done a little more with it or something. Unless
the flip side to that might be that Charlotte is actually hurt. And so they needed, and it might be out for a while.
That's possible.
So they needed to do something with the belt because you know, unlike they seem to do with Lesnar, you can't do that with every belt.
Everybody else has a 30-day.
Yeah.
Lesnar has a when do you want to defend it?
But if it's not that, it's so long as WrestleMania was good, who cares what happens after mentality? And that's a bad place that WWE has been at before. And
well, in the long-term booking could not be as bad because you got the Superstar shakeup happening this week upcoming. Mm-hmm. People are going to different places.
Yeah.
There's a good chance that if Charlotte doesn't leave, the Asuka's still coming to SmackDown. And maybe Asuka long-term gets that belt from Carmella. And then they have the rubber match and Asuka gets her win back.
Mm-hmm. And that can also lead to
and that
Charlotte.
Could be another couple good matches.
Yes.
Building up to that eventual Rousey feud for either of them.
Right.
My biggest worry is that in the past, people with streaks like Asuka's, especially Asians, they've not done, foreigners in general, anyone not from America and white, has not done great after their defeats.
Right.
And that's my thing is I just hope they don't just go, well, you lost your streak, we don't care about you anymore.
Yeah.
And now you're just a joke. But then again, Natalya survived having a farting gimmick, so and she had a run for a while with the title, kind of recently, where she's kind of the top heel on SmackDown right now.
Yeah.
So
I would think you would have to be.
Worst things could happen. Yeah, the worst things can happen.
If you're flatulent, it almost automatically makes you a heel.
So then after that match, like we mentioned, John Cena kind of interrupted it. It had been teased for, a few weeks or months?
It's been a few weeks. It was probably about 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, where
he called out the Undertaker.
Undertaker,
his original thing, and then they had a break, and then he went hardcore into it. But at this point, all we saw was a referee came out, talked to him, and then he ran to the back.
Right.
Yeah.
So we didn't see anything at this point. It didn't pay off yet.
And then that led into our United States Championship Fatal 4-Way match between Jinder Mahal, Rusev, Bobby Roode, and Randy Orton.
Who was the champion.
This was just kind of
This is a less sigh.
Yes.
This match.
This is the let everybody down a little bit.
Here's the problem with this match. Going into it, you have boring Randy Orton.
Yes.
Because currently Randy Orton, last few years, he's been super boring. He's just there.
Yeah.
He's not been passionate about anything he's done.
Right.
And Randy Orton could be great when he's into what he's doing, but he's really just been not. He's checked out.
He's been boring for me since Evolution.
Really?
Yeah.
He had his little when he was punting people in the head as a villain, and he had the feud with Triple H. I thought he was okay then.
To me, he just always seemed sort of kind of one-dimensional. I mean, there was never really any depth to his character. No matter how hard they tried to develop his character, he just wasn't carrying it very well.
I can see that.
Yeah.
After the whole Legend Killer thing ended, it did seem just, I'm a bad guy, I can kick your ass, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And there's some more to it.
His whole gimmick is, I'm an arrogant heel.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, he's a face, so it doesn't come off well.
Right.
In the same way, you have Bobby Roode, who should be a heel because the man works great heel.
Right.
But they're just all in on this. He's a good guy, and it's absolutely he's boring. And he's like, and it's funny because people joke and call him like Little Triple H because he wrestles very similar to Triple H, and I agree with that. I do think his style is similar, and that's not a bad thing.
Right.
But it's a boring face wrestling style.
Yes.
Then you have Jinder Mahal, which is the guy that nobody wants.
Right.
Which actually I'm not so mad about him being U.S. champ. I think given his heel run and given his overall work and improvement, that a lower tier title isn't bad. I don't think he should have been world champion yet. I think they've done this in the reverse order. But WWE's real good about that. They don't want to build somebody properly. They just want to hotshot it, and then they're like, oh, that didn't work. How do we build back from the scratch instead of going from the beginning and starting over? They just like take one step back instead of the 5 that's needed. And then Rusev, who's technically a heel, but he's so over with the crowd as a face, and they love him so much. Everybody expected him to win this when he was added like last minute.
Yeah.
Especially how much they've been pushing him.
But, like I said, instead he's the one who ate the heel. He ate the pin. He ate a wicked-looking Colossus from Gender, which is the Cobra Clutch Slam, isn't it? Isn't it really?
Yeah,
Really it
something
is.
like that. Yeah.
It's basically a Cobra Clutch. It's
Reverse
the Dream
Indian,
Street. The Dream Street that DiBiase Jr. did. I think it's really what it is. But yeah, like so Jinder became the new U.S. champ, and I'm not mad about that in and of itself. But really, at this point, it's very much like Braun on Raw. Like, when are you going to put the title on him? He's gold. He's money. He's going to make you a lot of money. Put a title on this man.
Yeah.
Braun Strowman should have had the world title ages ago. He should have took it from Brock.
Right.
But they were all in for the WrestleMania. So
Yeah.
Ultimately, it was just the match you could go use the bathroom during. Like,
He wouldn't have missed a whole lot. Yeah.
But that led us into the Raw Tag Team Grudge match. I'm losing my voice for some reason.
To me, this was one of the worst.
Okay. I feel like we're going to have 3 different opinions.
we're going to have 3.
This was
kicked her upside the head.
Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle versus Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. And, okay, well, since you already spoke up on it first, tell us what you hated about this.
I am not a Rousey fan. I'm really not. I don't think she's. I just don't think that she is WrestleMania material. Now, you wouldn't have put her out there by herself against anybody else, okay? Which is why they had Angle there and Triple H and Stephanie there. Yeah, that's the train coming. Yeah. No, I'm just not a fan of Rousey, and it goes back to her UFC days, where she got her butt thoroughly handed to her by Holly Holm.
Yeah.
And then her comeback fight where she lost again. Yeah. And it's like, and then the entire time they were talking about her being the baddest woman in the world. I would have loved for Holly Holm to show up at the announcing table and go, "Excuse me?" Boot her upside the side of the head. I'm also not a fan of, and I know that a lot of people are fans of this, but I'm not a fan of. There's only been one Roddy Piper, only one, and I it's so not only are they bringing her in as a gimmick essentially, because that's how I see her now. Until she actually does something on her own, she's a gimmick. To me, that diminishes the legacy of Roddy Piper. Now, I know she's a lifelong fan, and Roddy liked her and all that stuff. I understand all that. But to me, right now, her wearing his stuff and all that diminishes Roddy Piper in my eyes. And I don't think she really did anything in that match, to be honest with you.
Now, do you feel, because I could probably see this from your perspective, do you feel like it's a little insulting to the sport of wrestling that she failed so hard in her sport, but came in and dominated in this one?
Oh yeah. And what killed me at the Royal Rumble when she came in and did the point to the side and
30 times.
No, and stood there. And stood
for
there.
an hour.
And stood there.
Yeah, I'll
and
give you that
stood
one.
there. And it was like, okay, now you've had your arm up long enough that we could smell the stench coming out of your pit all the way over here. Put your arm down. Forget it. And like you said, it was an interruption of Asuka's win. And it's just, this whole thing of...
That should have been a Monday Night Raw. That should have been the Monday Night Raw after the Rumble, because that really cut into Asuka's win, being the first ever Women's Royal Rumble.
It's ridiculous.
I was upset about that, especially, again, as an Asuka fan.
Yeah.
It's just like when The Rock came in and ruined the main event of WrestleMania just because he was hosting it. Yeah, that's what that felt like.
That was the Miz Cena thing, right?
Yeah.
They did that to set up the Miz, the Rock Cena once in a lifetime, thrice in a lifetime.
Right.
I get it. It was just that was actually a really great match, and then The Rock came in and fucked the whole thing up. Right. But no, I'm going to go ahead and say my piece on this one, because I'm the exact opposite of you. I was very entertained by this match. I was impressed with what Ronda did do, and to be fair, I am weirdly attracted, very attracted to Ronda Rousey.
There it is. There's the reason.
But putting that to the side, there's no way I could have ever seen Ronda Rousey building her way up through the rank. If they had stuck her in NXT, that would have just been so outlandish and weird. Just having her there.
Counterpoint to that. Shayna Baszler, who just won the women's championship that same weekend in NXT, is one of the 4 horsewomen of MMA, Ronda's friend, and Ronda was there to every time Shayna's wrestled, for the most part, the main matches.
So you would say...
So she's equal to Ronda Rousey.
In MMA, she equals popularity?
She was one of her four group. They all trained together and everything. And she's just now became NXT Women's Champion this same weekend.
Yeah.
But...
She worked the legit way, actually went trained as a wrestler outside of WWE, got into WWE.
But can you really say that she does have the same celebrity that Ronda Rousey does?
It's like A-list versus A-minus list.
Because I was going to say, I don't follow MMA at all. I've never heard of that woman, but I know who Ronda Rousey is, and I've watched some of her fights before all of this WWE stuff got started. So I would argue it's a different tier.
Now, if she had come over before her loss to Holly Holm, before her 2 losses in a row that ended her MMA career, if they'd have brought her over before that makes it seem more legit. But to bill her as the baddest woman on the planet, and keep calling her that after she got not just Holly Holm just barely squeaked out a win over. No, it wasn't nothing like that. Holly Holm knocked her the fuck out.
Well, see,
her in-ring stuff, other than her going for the arm bar.
Yeah.
Tell me what else was impressive. That, by the way, was blocked 90% of the time by Stephanie.
I'm going to come to that point.
Because all Stephanie had to do was this.
Granted, okay, she didn't have a whole move list that you could probably recite offhand and look up in the video game or whatever.
I could,
but
I could recite exactly what she did in that match.
I mean, okay, she didn't have a plethora of stuff to do, but honestly, do a lot of these wrestlers ever do a whole lot outside of a lot of kicks and punches and laying over here and laying over there? That's the problem with WWE right now. That's why I keep jumping off, is because there's just not a variety. And given that, I think she kept her timing really well. I think her technique was on point. I think what she did do was perfectly executed. And you also had greats like Kurt Angle and Triple H in there helping her sell that type of stuff. I think it all just flowed really well, and just from an entertainment standpoint, it worked.
And you just hit the nail on the head. And what made, if there was any way to say that match was a success at all, it's the fact that Triple H and Kurt Angle were in there. And here's why: Triple H is the ultimate corporate guy. He will job to anybody and make them look 10 times better than they actually are.
Now,
yeah. If you were to put Rousey in the ring with Asuka, okay, you're not going to get anywhere near the quality of match of what you got at WrestleMania this time. And the only reason I say that is because you had the Triple H almost hitting Stephanie. Remember when she was standing on the ring apron and everything, shades of last year.
Every WrestleMania practice.
Yeah, practically, yeah.
They're just standing in the back. And
WrestleMania really is the one time of the year Stephanie gets comeuppance.
Oh, yeah.
Because generally she's immune to any kind of feedback or any kind of payback until WrestleMania.
Right.
Yeah.
Except for this year with the Rousey stuff.
Right.
Now, I'll agree that maybe out of the box, Rousey couldn't contend with some of the other female talent that they've got right now, but that's because she's untested. I think if they do what they're kind of selling and they actually put her in matches on the shows and not just keep her for pay-per-views, I think we're going to see a lot of growth from her. I think she's going to form into a legitimate WWE female superstar.
And she could very well do that. I mean, she's athletic, and I don't want to take anything away from her athleticism or anything.
And she sells the intensity too.
But I just think that I think her biggest weakness is the psychology of it. I don't think she's any good at all at playing the crowd. And because look at her, every time she comes out on the entranceway, what's the first thing she does? She gets that big ass cheesy grin on her face, like, oh, they're all clapping for me. Settle it down.
But that could also just be the people in the back running the show telling her, you gotta smile. Well, because Vince is bad for that.
Here's my take on the match, and Ronda especially. It was not a bad match. As far as celebrity at WrestleMania goes, it's one of the best ones. Mm-hmm. And that's how I look at it. I look at it as a celebrity match at WrestleMania, not a roster member match.
Right.
They can say she's full roster all they want, but that remains to be seen.
Right.
If we get to the WrestleMania next year and she's had a match at every pay-per-view, and she's had at least 2 of the 4 Raws of the month, had a match on those, and she's wrestled that many matches.
Yeah, she's put in the work.
Absolutely. I will say, yes, she's a full roster member.
Yeah,
but if we get to this time next year and she's Brock Lesnar wrestling,
right,
then she's a celebrity doing wrestling.
Right.
And that's the problem we have now is she's only been training for a couple of months.
Right.
So she's not going to be great at it anyway. Like, she can't be. She doesn't have the time in.
Well, you know who set the bar for celebrity wrestlers?
LT.
Females.
Oh, females?
Females.
Snooki.
Absolutely.
Snooki.
Snooki with that
woman
weirdly good.
It was weirdly good.
And also ruined John Morrison's career with the WWE.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't hug Trish Stratus after the end of Melina.
I mean, how bad is that Snooki actually set the bar as far as athleticism and how she worked in the ring and everything?
She did that handspring back elbow in the cartwheel one.
It was fantastic.
And her Luthez press was pretty impressive.
Unfortunately, at that time period, she was better than most of the roster of female wrestlers, because that's back when we had Yelly and Tori Wilson and such as our champions. Ashley Massaro. Yeah. You know,
when the women's division was so bad that Snooki stood out.
Right,
the best thing.
That's when the women's division was so bad that the first ever real women's battle royal at WrestleMania was won by a man.
Right.
That's how bad the roster was. They had to let a dude win it.
Oh, God, that's great.
The pre-James Ellsworth.
There have been some ups and downs in this business.
But the match itself was good. I liked it overall. Again, it's I got to see Triple H versus Kurt Angle.
Right.
The overall beginning of the match was good because Stephanie played a great heel at the beginning.
Yes.
That was like the good beats. Now the bad beats. Here's the bad thing. Kurt Angle is lost a step.
Oh, yeah.
And that's sad to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle's return to wrestling in WrestleMania was a little spoiled because of the mono outbreak or whatever happened that ruined the Shield thing, and they had to throw Kurt in there, and then Triple H wrestled with him in like one of the foreign places they did. He wrestled as a Shield member in place of Roman. Like, this is all weird stuff they did, like, and it just kind of took away a little bit from this match. But
for me, I had no idea that Kurt was in this match. I knew that Rousey had a match at WrestleMania. I didn't know what it was.
Well, they didn't do that until they set up the match itself. They basically said you get a whatever match you want. And then he made it a tag match.
Raw
because she wanted a match with.
See that episode.
Yeah, she wanted a match with Stephanie, and then Kurt made it a tag match.
And so, showing up to watch the show, finding out that this was a thing, I'm a huge Kurt Angle fan. I love that man. His career in the ring, and just to see that was a little bit of a letdown.
Well, the good thing about it was this was our first match with Kurt back in his full Olympic gear, being Kurt Angle. So we got to see the pull down and all that. Right. So I mean, we got some really good spots, and there were some really good sequences I liked. However, I will say that my biggest criticism of Rousey as a wrestler right now with that match, number one, the match went 5 minutes too long. If you cut 5 minutes from that match, it would have been a great match.
Right.
I think. Number two of that. My next criticism overall, Ronda punches like Shane. She does the rabbit punches.
Yes. That
are the worst look. And everyone's like, look how great and crisp those punches are. And I'm like, they don't look good. They're rabbit punches. It's this.
I think they look stiffer than Shane's at least.
I will give you that, but that's not like... that's like, is it chocolate or dark chocolate? It's still chocolate. And then, of course, the big thing in the match... I was surprised. This WrestleMania did 3 things that they've not done in a long time. Man-on-woman violence.
Yeah.
Because he was going to pedigree Ronda.
Yep.
And they physically hit each other.
Right.
They brought back Pyro, which we haven't seen in a long time. Yeah. And blood. Buckets of blood in the main event. This WrestleMania was... Of all the returns, those are the 3 I didn't expect.
Right. Which, we failed to mention, Charlotte got busted open during the...
Yeah, but that was an accident.
Yeah,
I'm talking
we're talking about blood.
actual blood.
Crimson Mask type stuff.
Yeah, we will get to that.
But,
hear that.
But And like I said, my biggest disappointment in the match, I think, is Stephanie McMahon blocking a legit MMA armbar by holding her hands together, which is not a thing.
Right.
And this is something that legitimate fighters can't actually block that way.
And you could say, oh, she's been training with Triple H, but still, you're not selling it that way.
Yeah, no. She's not.
Well, Triple H is not a jiu-jitsu expert either.
Like, when Ronda Rousey squared up with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H and Kurt Angle were taken out of the match, if they wanted to do this match properly, the big thing here should have been Ronda destroys Stephanie.
Yes.
No ifs, ands, or buts. And the only reason the match didn't extend is Triple H makes the save.
Right.
He breaks up the pin. He breaks up the submission. What have you.
And this is what you and me were saying. You and I, Stu, were saying during the match when they had that moment. When they did have that moment where Stephanie was in the armbar and Triple H was in the ankle lock.
That should have been the end of the match. That should have been it. Yeah. That should have been the end of the match. Second thing with that is there was a moment where Ronda does... her timing's not great. And you can tell. Like, there's a moment... She does a cool move. She does the slam... roll through fireman carry on Triple H, which is really good.
Yeah.
But then she stands there way too long waiting on Stephanie to interfere.
Yeah.
Because her timing's off.
Yeah.
And again, this could be Stephanie was too slow or whatever because Stephanie's not a wrestler.
And credit to Triple H, he was selling the struggle type thing.
I know, but that's the thing is they took too long.
Yeah.
Generally, when that happens, that's because somebody's not in place.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And she, as I've seen her in the build-up to this match, she's generally the problem.
Right.
Like so far. Good example, she got Triple H in the slam, like she was going to slam him into a table, and Stephanie slams her into a table instead. She comes up behind her. She just stood there and waited for Stephanie to grab her, and then she just has that, oh my God, look on her face while Stephanie slams her through a table.
Right.
And you're just like, well, that's on you. You're the one that doesn't have something to do. And I've done theater, and one of the things you have to do is improv.
Yeah.
You have to go, if somebody's late on their lines,
I'd put you in that position.
If somebody's late on their lines,
I'd put you in that position.
You have to kill time somehow. You have to let them know, hey, it's your time, but you also have to keep the action moving. You have to make it look like there's nothing missing. You have to never let the crowd look at you and go, why are they just standing there? What is missing?
And that's where it comes
she
down
unfortunately hasn't got that yet.
She's
and that's fine. That's something you pick up. But again, her first match ever is at WrestleMania. Well, that says something.
Yeah. Now that she's under contract, like she's locked in. So now they don't have to worry about scaring her away. They got her. They can take her off to the side and be like, look, this is shit. We need to work on this. Don't care about your background. Let's work on this.
And I will agree with you that my biggest other problem with Ronda in general, and always, everything she's done so far with WWE is the dumb smile all the time until actual... Sure, she gets a great mean face when she's actually killing somebody.
Right. She sells that. Yeah.
But the fact that she's smiling the rest of the time, and every time she had to talk, when they did their talk segments leading up to WrestleMania, it was cringeworthy. It was terrible when they did the sit down at the table.
And
it was just, it was not like somebody that should be a big deal as a wrestler.
The baddest woman on the planet should not be smiling like that when she comes out on the entrance.
Hell no.
Ever.
You think they're ever going to have Goldberg do that shit?
But that's the thing. Look at Shayna Baszler. Look at her contemporary.
Right.
Shayna Baszler, who just won the NXT Women's title. I don't like Shayna Baszler, but I don't like her, again, Miz-wise. It's not X-Pac heat. It's Miz heat. I don't like her because she doesn't... I don't want to like her because she's such a villain.
Right.
But she is not smiling. She smiles when she hurts people.
Yeah.
Like her smiles are, ha ha, I hurt you.
Yeah.
She's out to hurt people. She's mean. She scowls. She doesn't look like a pleasant person.
Right.
That's a heel.
Right.
I know Ronda's supposed to be a face, and faces are bubbly and smiley and good, generally. But they don't want to build her like that. They're trying to build her Stone Cold Steve Austin. Right. Especially if you look at her storyline, it's literally Authority... The Authority, the name that they call themselves, is not the corporation.
Well, yeah, and then you look at Monday Night Raw the night after. That's a very Stone Cold moment.
And you know what? That moment was good. When you got to the moment where she again tries to break Stephanie's arm or whatever. And that whole little section was great. But the smiling up to that point was just not necessary. I'll give it to her that maybe she was luring her into a false sense of security because she was smiling and friendly and then turned on her.
If you want to
But going forward, if I see her this upcoming Monday... I want to see scowling, angry Rousey. I don't want to see smiley Rousey. Ever.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of room for growth in her. There's definite potential in Ronda Rousey, but I do have to concede to some of you guys' points and stuff.
Long term, yeah.
Still, I was very entertained by this match, and Rousey's the reason I watched Raw, and then Raw was the reason I watched SmackDown, so Ronda brought me back in, so I gotta give her that at least. But we went from there into the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match with the Bludgeon Brothers versus the New Day versus the Usos. So we had a good little triple threat there. And this is another one of those matches.
Well, this match, unfortunately, suffered from... I feel like they cut time from this because of the Kurt Angle, Rousey, Stephanie,
Well,
Triple
I feel
H
like
match.
a lot of them suffered from...
But I feel like this one in particular lost some time.
Matches.
This match was what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Given how they started this triple threat feud, this match did exactly what you expected him to do, and that is, simply put, the Bludgeon Brothers murdered everybody and won the titles.
Right.
Yep.
There was a small moment of hope for the good guys, so to speak, but the Bludgeon Brothers just killed them and took the titles, which is what this match should have been, given the way they built the Bludgeon Brothers.
Ultimately,
had the Bludgeon Brothers not won this match long term, it would have been a terrible waste of time.
Ultimately, though, this is one that really could have been struck from the card and done on the regular shows.
No, actually, in and of itself, it made sense that this was here, especially given the build up. Really, this match was for two things. For one thing, this match, and there was a lot of talk about it for this particular reason. And I think this match was literally just a reward to the Usos, who have never been on the main WrestleMania card. 9 WrestleManias and have never been in the main card. They've been on the pre-show 8 times. Oh my. This is the first year they got to actually be on the main card. So that is probably the entire existence of this match's reason. It's literally here's your WrestleMania moment.
Right.
You actually get one. Even if it is you losing. Now, mind you, they didn't take the pin either. And then on SmackDown, they won the right, which I don't know why they had to win the right. They should have got a rematch anyway. But neither here nor there. They won the right to then also take on the Bludgeon Brothers at either Backlash or the Greatest Rumble, one of the two, for the tag titles. That Greatest Rumble, I think, is going to be 18 hours long. There's there's 9 matches plus a 50-man Royal Rumble.
Oh my God.
Every single title's on the line except for the women's, because they have no women, because they can't have any women wrestling because it's Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Oh my God.
And there's a lot of people really
can't
down.
drive, can't wrestle.
Well,
there's a lot of people really down on WWE for even doing business there.
Let's take progress where we can get it. They're getting a Royal Rumble.
They literally the United Arabic Emirates recently had their first women's match, which was Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks.
Right. Yeah.
They had to wear full body gear, couldn't wear their regular wrestling gear. But hey, it's the first women's wrestling match ever there. So
they just allowed women to start driving, and
so I get it. Take it where you can get it, but still, it is what it is.
And the rate of car accidents went way up.
37,000.
Well, on that very ad-friendly note, we're gonna go ahead and
Geico.
What's in your wallet?
Oh, God. I wish we had Geico money. But no, we're going to go ahead and hear a little ad that involves time travel and violence among friends. And that is for Tricon. So we're going to go ahead and cue that now.
Where is Odle at, man?
I don't know, man. He's always talking about how he needs to be out of here by a certain time. We make accommodations.
It's already 7:30.
I know.
Whoa! Guys, we had such a blast.
What are you talking about?
Did you just come out of the portal?
Yeah, I think we're skipping over that fact.
Oh, there's no time for that right now.
That was uncalled for.
Guys, Tricon.
Oh, okay. What is that?
Is that a Comic-Con?
It is the Tri-State Comic Book Convention, June 2nd, Huntington, West Virginia, Big Sandy Superstore Arena.
Okay, well, these comic book conventions are always money pits, man. Can we really afford that?
No. This one is only $10 for admission. Kids under 10, get in free.
Wow.
Yeah.
But is it, okay, that cheap? It's got to be just boxes of comics as far as the eye can see. Nothing really worth seeing.
No. We've got vendors, we've got artists, we've got some pretty stellar media guests.
Whoa.
There's going to be a cosplay contest. The winner just...
Who was it?
You got to be there to find out.
Well, let's get our tickets right now, then.
Come on, guys. Let's jump in the time warp.
And we're back, and I can't
It just reminded me of the skit with Jimmy Fallon and whoever on Saturday Night Live were the DAs. It was Ben Affleck. And we're back.
Every single time we've had to take the ad break, I've always had the most awkward. And we're back. I don't know if after 2 years of doing this without ads, I don't know if I'll ever get used to it. Then after that tag team championship match, we went into the impromptu, the Undertaker versus John Cena match.
Now, this important to note here is that it's more than just a match. There's a whole structure to this that was a lot more than I expected. They didn't just do the Taker thing, because the first chunk of this was really fun, in my opinion. Cena comes out for his match. The referee comes out and says, "Nah, there's no Undertaker. I don't know why they called you back."
Yeah.
Right.
He gets all upset, goes to leave. They set it up like the Undertaker's there, and it's Elias.
Yeah.
And that I loved. Elias comes out to massive heat. He comes out, tells John, "Go back and be a fan. Go away. Nobody needs you." John goes back to be a fan, and Elias just makes fun of him and the Undertaker both.
And what was he playing?
Yeah. He started with House of the Rising Sun.
Yes.
Yeah. And now, in retrospect...
And he's like, "You expected something else?"
Right.
In retrospect, I was really bummed out while this was happening. I was sitting there going, fuck this. Let's just get to the next match. And at the time, I hated that. But like now that I think back, fuck, that was such a great way to sell it to me.
I loved it. And here's the thing, because I thought they were going to do the thing I expected, was after all of this, Undertaker shows up and says, "Hey, John, I'll see you next WrestleMania." And then we have time to build it proper instead of just John Cena screaming at him for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Instead, what we got was that whole segment goes, then he just destroys Elias, which I didn't want. He's an up-and-coming guy. He could have used the rub a little better.
Right.
And afterwards, we get the whole Undertaker thing. Now, of the Undertaker thing they did, I did enjoy the fact that they did the theatrics. Right. They did the thing. They were like, "Hey, we remember that he put his ring gear here, although there's boots there now because he took his boots off." No, he didn't. He didn't take his boots off. But his ring gear shows up randomly, gets struck by lightning, disappears. Yeah. It's really good cinematography. I like that they took a moment to actually do continuity, which is rare, especially with WWE.
Right.
Yeah.
And then real Undertaker, not American Badass like everybody expected. He shows up. They have their squash match, and like I said, the good moment from this match, the only real moment that I thought was real fun, was John Cena going for the five knuckle shuffle. He bounces off the ropes. Undertaker does his setup move, and Cena falls down in fear.
Yeah.
My problem with that, in retrospect, though, is Cena has been calling out the Undertaker all this time, and then as soon as the match actually happens, Cena becomes a cowering idiot.
Yeah, he's scared of him.
And it makes no sense to call out the Undertaker for weeks, and then when he shows up, you poop yourself.
Yes.
Well, and even more to that point, this isn't his first run-in with the Undertaker.
It's their first WrestleMania moment.
It's their first WrestleMania, but it's not the first time
it's
he's
not like
fought
they've
the
never fought.
Undertaker. Yeah.
So literally, it makes no sense for Cena to suddenly become super scared of him.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes no sense at all, and neither their storyline nor Cena's character. And you can bag on Super Cena all you want, but even disregarding that, it's just he's not a guy who should literally be falling over in fear from the Undertaker.
Right.
He could be shocked. He could be, how did he get up from that? Yeah, that's fine. But to actively literally fall out of a move in fear.
Right.
Every time the Undertaker does stuff to just fall back in just scared mode, it just makes no sense.
Right.
It's not good narrative. And yeah, that made the Undertaker look great. He killed Cena in 2 minutes. 2 minutes 40 some seconds is the official match time.
Yeah.
Right.
That doesn't count the 8 minutes of Undertaker walking to the ring.
This WrestleMania,
Hey, when you're that old.
Someone did the math.
Been for a couple years now.
Yeah.
Someone did the math, and this WrestleMania was an hour in entrances total. Yeah, an hour of this WrestleMania was entrances.
Well, that's not bad if you think about the fact that it's a 5-hour show, so you've got roughly 3 hours of actual action, about an hour of entrances, and an hour of recap stuff because they always ran a recap thing between there.
Still, you don't need it, but I think the match was fun. It wasn't what I wanted. I wanted the American Badass, and all the way up until the point where the bell hit, they had the opportunity because when the lightning hit the gear, that was the perfect time to have the rev up.
Well, you couldn't do the Undertaker. You couldn't do the American Badass. Triple H had all the bikes in New Orleans for his entrance. He rented them all, so unfortunately no motorcycles available. Now, I will say this about The Undertaker. He did look good in the ring overall.
Yep.
He moved way better than he did last year when he fought Roman. So, in a way, he got a little bit of that back, a little bit of that chutzpah, that heat that he had from last year, because that match just was not really great.
Yeah,
he didn't move very good.
Right.
And really, I think that match, a lot of people look back on the match and they're like, well, Roman, blah, blah, blah. Really, it's Undertaker old.
Yeah.
That was the problem last year. Because if you had this same Undertaker from this year, I don't know if he had his hip surgery or whatever, he was just in a much better condition. You had him going at this speed last year with Roman, they could have put on a great match because Roman can work great with people who can work great.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I love that he climbed to the top rope.
Yeah, he did old school.
Old school.
But yeah,
With a K.
That choke slam.
Yeah, that choke slam was a nice. That was an Attitude Era choke slam.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was an old school Kane choke slam that we ain't seen in years.
That was an expert
because we've
one.
only seen the pick them up, put the hand on the back, lay them down gently for the good night.
Right.
That was that's the choke slam that people hate taking because that's the one that hurts.
Yes.
Taker was
Because that's
he
actually
took it way up on his shoulders and neck too.
That's what's one of the ones that people say is one of the worst moves to take is a real good choke slam.
Yeah.
Because it hurts. It's hard.
And
to
you
bump.
only have so much control.
Yeah, it's hard to bump that. It's hard to
Yeah.
bump that without getting hurt or just hurting.
Yeah.
And so that to see that choke slam, that's another return, a real righteous choke slam.
Right.
So I like that. I like those moments. But yeah, I wish they would have just taken the time to set up next year if they were going to do it and not have this because we didn't get any feedback build from the Undertaker.
Right.
And that made the match just a throwaway WrestleMania moment.
Yeah.
And WrestleMania moments only mean something if they have something to them.
Yeah.
Other than John Cena going, I'm bored and I want something to do at WrestleMania, so I'm going to just yell at you for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then, you're going to show up and destroy me. Well, that paid off.
Yeah.
Now, granted, if this did something long term for Cena, if he turned heel or had a run where he was more heelish and it was all because of how that went down, brilliant.
Right.
We wish for that every year, though.
I know. I'm just saying, that's the thing. Guys like Roman, guys like Cena, that's what they need. They need that little shot in the arm. And this is the moment where you look at bad things like this, and the Brock match later for Roman. You just look at those and you go, "This is an opportunity for you to do something with this, and for it to pay off long term. And if it pays off long term, this was worth it."
Right.
But if you don't do that, then this was a waste of my time because it was not great. It wasn't what these guys could deliver. Right. Especially with Undertaker moving like that, these guys could deliver a really good match.
Yeah, and
which I would love to see next year.
I'll
But now
say
we've seen it.
Every time, Cena is a great wrestler. He has all of the talent, and he used to show that, especially in his early days, back when
he's coasting now.
Yeah, well, yeah, and now they're putting him in a position where you go out there, you do your big.
They're called the 5 moves of doom.
Yeah, the 5 moves of
Everybody,
doom. That's what I was trying to
all the
think
big
of.
guys. Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash originated the 5 moves of doom.
You get your 5 moves of doom, and you get out of there. And so those two, they could really tear the house down if they wanted to. But moving along, we had the SmackDown Tag Team Grudge match, which was the returning Daniel Bryan after 3 years. It was 3 years he was retired.
Yep. 3 years.
And Shane McMahon
The
versus...
best wrestler in the world.
The best. Hey, that's why they call him the money. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
This match, man.
Yeah. Now, what we had going into this one was, and again, I hadn't been watching the show up to it, but what I put together was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn had screwed someone over. They got fired, and this was a match to save their jobs.
Okay,
right?
so the build up to this match was simply this: Shane McMahon, who's the best wrestler in the world, was fighting with AJ Styles, and they had a match. And then that transitioned into AJ became a face. So then it transitioned into Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon having matches. And then their big breakup was Hell in a Cell. Shane did the elbow drop off the cell because he always has to jump off of everything.
Of course.
And he never hits. So he goes to jump off the cell to elbow drop Kevin Owens through the table. And Sami Zayn, who had been a face at the time and feuding with Kevin Owens many, many times, randomly shows up and saves him at the last second, and it was really good timing. It was amazing, but they're good wrestlers, so it's expected. So Shane just eats it and dies into the table, and so then he turns around and has a vendetta against these two SmackDown wrestlers, who basically they come out, and Sami Zayn became one of my favorite heels because he's the most swarmy, cocky asshole heel, and but he's still like a nerdy, fun guy.
Right.
So it's just like the most annoying, and it's amazing. I love it. And then Kevin Owens is already kind of that way. So them back together as heels was really good. So basically they come out and they're basically like, well, we screwed Shane because he said there's the land opportunity, and there's no opportunity. He's just getting the same guys matches over and over again. These guys are champions over and over again. They just keep getting, he lost his title shot, got a new one. I didn't even get a chance to get in there. I didn't even get a match, blah, blah, blah. That's why I went heel. And then this transitions for a while. And then the build up to this was Daniel Bryan, who at the time couldn't wrestle because he's hurt, basically started siding with Sammy and Kevin and started screwing over AJ and Shane by default. And this was all building up to possibly some sort of most likely proxy match, Daniel's proxy versus Shane's proxy, or Daniel's proxy versus Shane, or something of that nature. But basically they broke it down, and Sammy and Kevin beat up Shane real bad. And it was vicious looking. They put his neck in a chair and slammed him into the ring post. They powerbombed him on like a tote or something in the backstage. They kicked him in the face. They hit finishers on him. Like, they viciously beat him up. And it was actually pretty vicious looking. And then, so because he's out, he's beat up, Daniel says, I can wrestle again. And the moment he says, I can wrestle again, he fires the two for beating up their boss. And then they beat him up, which turns into, well, now it's going to be a tag match versus you two. If you win, you get to keep your job on SmackDown. If not, you're gone. Because they've already fired them. And then the leading into this match, why I say Shane McMahon is the best wrestler in the world, is they tell everyone how he's got like a herniated disc, a staph infection, and he got diverticulitis, which is the thing that shelved Brock's MMA career. And he's wrestling with all of these things.
Right.
And at the beginning of the match, Daniel Bryan gets shit canned right out the match, dead by a sneak attack. Yeah. And the first 5 minutes of the match is Shane one on two against two actual good wrestlers. And he not only holds his own, prime. At one point he has the advantage. He is beating them up. He hits the coast to coast on Sami Zayn at one point, all while having diverticulitis. He literally does his rapid punches to both of them and just beats the crap out of them all by himself.
Selling the diverticulitis.
Like, that was the worst part. He'd stop and just my tummy. Man, and when they powerbombed him on that locker thing in the back, his moaning that he was doing was the worst thing. It's the worst sound, like a seal dying.
I will say what's impressive about him though is that he can still hit the coast to coast.
Yes,
because that's a long way to jump.
Yes,
even with a little bit of spring from the rope.
I mean, it helps he's tall. It does help he's tall.
Yeah,
but the fact that he can still hit the coast to coast.
That he's starting off.
Crouched
at this angle and then has to turn in air.
No, I don't
get those feet up. That's to me.
I mean,
the rest of it to me is he's just he's Shane O'Mac. But the coast to coast thing, because I can remember watching it and thinking, holy crap! Because he didn't have the trash can to hit either, so now he's got to go that actual 2-3 feet now. And I thought, holy shit, he's climbing to the top. There's no way he's going to hit this. Something's going to happen, and he's not going to jump off. And sure enough, he had plenty of room to spare.
That's like when Roman hit him at Royal Rumble last year. Yeah. And hit him when he did the coast to coast with the spear midair, and almost hurt him. Hurt him for real, but almost hurt him real bad.
That's what he was selling this year.
Oh, that makes sense. He's so hard he felt it next year. Right. That's the cause of diverticulitis.
Right.
But it's just ridiculous that Shane could have those ailments and still wrestle two guys way above his pay grade.
Right.
And he did it long enough for Daniel to finally come back and literally one-handedly beat, or single-handedly.
Single-handedly, yeah. No,
not one-handedly. He didn't literally use one hand. He's by himself. Then went ahead and beat Sammy and Kevin by himself, while Shane is, he's out of the match for the rest of it because he's hurt. But it's just the ridiculousness of him doing that. Like, it was a great moment to see Daniel Bryan wrestling again. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yes.
And the parts where Daniel wrestled was good.
Too. You notice that?
Yeah, his drop kicks. He does that flipping drop kick. I hate. Every time I'm like, no! And I know he has to do impact testing and concussion testing after every match as part of his comeback because it was such a big deal.
Right.
But it's just like, man, why are you flipping like that? Like, why aren't you just doing regular drop kicks? Why are you just flipping on your face? Like, right. What the heck? Everyone too. But I mean, he doesn't look like he's lost a step, and that's great. And that part of the match I love. So I love that part of the match. And some of Shane's stuff was good, like seeing him hit the coast to coast is great. Yeah. It's nice to see. It's weird that he can still hit it. I do agree there.
He has lightning fast hands.
And here's and like I said, like the problem with Shane is literally he follows Vince McMahon's song because in the No Chance in Hell song, there's this part where it says Shane too strong, and I agree.
Right.
He is too strong of a wrestler
Right.
that he can keep up with world champions like AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, both of which who in the last year were at one point a world champion, because Kevin was the Universal before he came over to SmackDown. So it's been a year and a half or so since he was a world champion.
So why didn't Shane ever actually... I wonder why, or does anybody ever actually know the real reason why he never actually tried to become a regular member of the roster, or working member of the roster?
Honestly, my best guess off the top of my head is Vince. I assume Vince said no.
Yeah.
I assume Vince said, I want you doing this stuff.
Right.
You're not going to do this, you're going to do this. I assume, like, most likely because Stephanie and Shane both have the same, like, they do sporadic matches.
Yeah.
Vince used to do,
Sure.
but never full time, and they're more CEO behind the scenes. So I assume it has a lot to do with that. I assume Vince said, oh, no, that's dangerous. Like, it's okay to be dangerous a little bit, but not full time because you're going to eventually get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But to the credit of the Shane O'Mac character, the whole thing that he's always had is that he's tough as nails. It's not that he's like this expert wrestler or that he's a total badass. Yeah. It's that he's tough as shit.
You just wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley.
And we got that from that King of the Ring match.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean,
Angle,
the Kurt Angle thing where they he was going through that glass.
Oh, yeah.
And then the one he ended up going through wasn't even it wasn't even a worked glass. He went through a real plate glass window.
Right.
Yeah, and then his whole feud with Kane sold it even further. So he's always been that guy who can, like, take a lot of shit.
He's one of the few people that got a good match out of Test.
Yeah.
Like, in my personal opinion. He's one of the few people that had a good match with Test.
I'd forgotten about that, yeah.
Because Test wasn't great.
No.
But Shane got a decent match out of him, and that's I mean that's a credit to Shane, I think.
And I think that's also a hallmark of a great wrestler is if you can make your opponent look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one
Shane
thing
does
that Shane does, Triple H does, even Cena. Even Cena could make somebody look good, you know. And to me, that's always been the hallmark. Stone Cold, The Rock, all those guys. They knew that they were, because they didn't want, whether it was to make the other guy look good or they just didn't want to look bad. Making the other guy look good makes them look better. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And we've got guys in RCW that do the same thing. I am not one of them.
Well, and, you know, again, we fall under that full-time roster thing.
Right, right.
You've only been in, like, what, 3 matches?
Probably half a dozen, I think,
Half a dozen?
altogether. Yeah, a couple few matches.
I couldn't remember.
I lost to Hollywood, but did a couple 6-man tag matches.
I know you were in a couple tag matches back when you were
with Tank and Weapons of Mass Destruction,
Yeah.
or as we like to call ourselves now, the Weapons of Mass. And
because
there's not a lot of destruction, but there was a whole lot of mass.
You were managing Tyson Rogers and
Wes Cannon.
Wes Cannon, yeah. The Wes Cannon.
Yes.
I remember the story.
When the mic goes off, we'll talk more about him. We're not here to trash anybody.
I think that is the first time in SMP that we've ever had when we get off the mic.
When we get off the mic, yeah.
Well, it's only fair.
New landmark.
He's not, if he was here, that'd be one thing.
Yeah.
But he's not here, so.
But yeah, that was a pretty good match. Like, just for all the elements that were in there.
Yeah. I mean,
it was a great return for Daniel Bryan.
For a casual
who got
fan,
the win.
It was a good match. For the casual fan, it was a good match. For a hardcore fan, for every reason that you listed, Stewie, yes. But for a casual, you know, now me, I've been a Daniel Bryan fan since he was Bryan Danielson in Ring of Honor. And you know, he was he was fantastic there, and that's why he moved up. You know, essentially. And so I always loved watching him work. And so to see him be able to come back, because I was really sad that he got injured and couldn't work. And I knew that was just killing him. Yeah.
That actually brings up 2 things I forgot to mention. The build up to the triple threat at the beginning. One of the best lines they did. It was pretty funny. Miz called them by their old indie names. He called Seth Rollins Tyler Black. And he tried to call Finn Balor Prince Devitt, but he called him Prince Nevitt. Oh, so he messed up the line. But also,
shop.com.
and then the replay, the opposite side of that is after this match. Most importantly, is the Monday Night Raw after Kevin and Sammy showed up asking for jobs, And Kurt Angle literally said, "I don't have a spot for a tag team, but I hear TNA is hiring."
Yeah, I noticed that.
And people were like, it's funny because Austin Aries like defended it and was like, well, he defended TNA. And he was like, well, first of all, TNA doesn't exist anymore. We're Impact Wrestling. And I'm like, yeah, you'll be TNA forever.
Yeah.
But it was really funny because it was a big deal, and it was like the best commercial for TNA they've ever had.
That's
like ever.
The first time they've ever
On
referenced
air,
directly.
Even
TNA,
Edge and Christian weren't allowed to talk about it when AJ Styles was on. They were like, things that we are never going to be allowed to talk about. All your time spent between this time in that other company.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah,
so they've never
called
said,
it
and
that,
even when Dixie Carter showed up for the AJ Styles stuff and the Kurt Angle stuff, the package they did, it was Kurt Angle stuff, they never mentioned where she was from. They never said former owner, former main character of that. So it's just, it's nice to do that they've done little things like that.
So we're going to go ahead and blaze through this next one pretty quickly because our time is going on a little long. But the next match was the Raw Women's Championship. Nia Jax defeating Alexa Bliss by pinfall. It was actually a really great match.
I'll tell you what, I said it on Facebook, and I'll say it again. I would not want to be the guy that breaks up with Nia Jax. I would not want to be that guy. That woman looks like she could hurt you no matter how big you are, no matter what gender you are. She will, you know what, forget my family friendly, she will fuck your day up.
You've said fuck like 3 times earlier anyways. So.
Yeah, fuck it.
I will say this about the match.
I said fudge before. We're going to edit that, right?
I will say this. I know that, like, okay, so leading up to this, the whole thing is it's fat shaming.
Yeah.
It isn't. It's not like beat around the bush. It's completely fat shaming, which makes no sense because Mickie James literally before she left the last time they did the Piggy James angle where they called her fat.
Right.
Now suddenly she's the mean girl win on it. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But that's wrestling logic. You can't. You can't. You got to forget about the past sometimes. But
have you
I'll
seen
give
Nia Jax in a bathing suit?
well, the thing is, we did here because her outfit surprisingly was completely see through. Mm-hmm. It was an entire, and I was like, "Is her outfit see through?" I was surprised. And good kudos to her on that. Like the fact that she is so body positive. Yeah. And I know that this is actually something that had apparently been happening backstage. She actually got some backstage stuff where people were bullying her about her weight. Oh. So this transition, because WWE loves to pull real life in, and her and Alexa are friends in real life. So I mean, take that as you will.
Right.
But the thing about this match, the first half of this match was amazing. When she ragdolled Mickie, which she'd done to Alicia Fox before, and when she did it, it's devastating looking. When she does the hair slam, she's beeling them into the side of into the barricade.
Yeah,
like
it's freaking crazy.
It's vicious. The first time she did it to Alicia Fox is the worst of the two because this one was like a little less. And Alicia Fox is probably smaller, like skinnier than Mickie is. Mickie's a thicker girl,
right?
So I mean, it's probably easier to fling Alicia like that, but it's still vicious looking. And honestly, after everything they built up to this, it needed to happen. She needed to just destroy her. Now, that brings it to the actual match. She needed to do that to Alexa. Yeah. She needed to get in and just manhandle and destroy Alexa the same way, especially given the size difference and the way they built up this match. And the whole, if Nia gets her hands on her, she's going to break her because they've been teasing it, not letting her. Mickie keeps eating it.
Yeah.
So I expected that, and that's not what we got. Instead, we got a kind of a dragged out match where Alexa kept poking the eyes, raking the eyes. And then sort of trying to get her back for it. And then finally, that second rope Samoan drop for the win. And as it should have been. Like, really, you can't build that match here and not let Nia win. Because you can't. Because the only way they could have saved that segment if Nia lost is they cheat and they beat her.
Yeah. Or
Alexa DQs herself or something. Nia then just destroys her Batista style on Edge.
Right.
And you get Carmella in for the cash in and a face turn and a move to Raw.
Right.
That's the only thing you could have done in this segment. Like, that's the only two ways this can go and not have a very angry crowd.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't into the match that much, anybody who paid attention to the story they were selling, the fat shaming, there's no way that they could have been okay with how that ended otherwise.
Right.
So, I'm glad they chose the right ending, but again, this shouldn't have been a match. This should have been an utter decimation.
Yes.
And especially that they're building, they've been trying to build Nia as this unstoppable monster, but then they've had her lose so many times and otherwise be treated badly that it's a little bit of that shine's gone.
Yeah. Now, the last time I was watching wrestling, it was almost purely for the women's division because it was like the best thing on the card, especially last year.
That was Impact. for a couple years. I mean, that's still kind of Impact. They've got some good women wrestlers.
And during that time, I didn't really see much special in Nia Jax because of the way that they were treating her and selling her. But this match really sold her to me. I saw what she was made of. I saw the way that she could conduct herself in the ring. And especially against someone who, Alexa Bliss, like we were talking about, they still have those women who really aren't that special, that awkward era women.
Yeah.
Alexa's great on the mic. Alexa in the ring.
Yeah, I think Alexa's one of those. So for Nia Jax to put on such a great show with her, who can play to her strengths. She knows what her strengths are.
You want to see Nia Jax wrestle a good match, you go back to NXT before Bayley got called up. They had a title match when Bayley was champion that was really good. And they did the giant thing. They did the only way Bayley could beat her was she eventually sleeper held her until she passed out, basically.
Right.
That sounds like
and it was a really good match.
Yep.
And I wish on the main roster both of those girls should have been treated better than they have been up to now. So hopefully going forward, they're going to do more with Nia and they're going to actually build her back.
Well, she's got the belt now.
I hope she doesn't stay babyface long. I hope that they do go back to dominating I'm the big heel, because it's really hard to see a bigger person who is basically twice the size of anybody on their roster being the face. It doesn't make a lot of sense because it's hard to play the babyface in peril.
Yeah.
It's like the New Day as faces. I don't like it because a lot of times they have a third man on their side. And you're like, wait, how are they the good guys? They're outnumbering the bad guys.
Right.
That doesn't usually work. Now, granted, as faces, the third guy just doesn't get involved most of the time. But it just, that dynamic isn't as powerful. Right. Because it's harder to see them as the good guys or harder to cheer for them when you're like, you outnumber them. You've actually got a third dude. So if this turns into a brawl or something, he's going to get involved.
And a trumpet.
Yeah, and a trumpet.
Trombone.
He's got a weapon, he even carries a weapon.
Right. And every morning they're eating their bootios.
And pancakes.
which is part of a balanced breakfast.
It's true.
So they're starting their day off right.
And they have
every new day.
And they have pancakes.
And pancakes.
They're eating their bootios.
And those pancakes are made from the power of positivity.
Saying their prayers,
taking their vitamins.
What you gonna do, brother, when the trombone comes crashing down on you?
Francesca too.
Yeah. Well,
she's got a name.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, dude.
Anyways, moving along, we had the WWE Championship, WWE rather Championship between AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura.
Oh my goodness gracious!
This was a match.
I love AJ. I love Shinsuke. I love AJ more than Shinsuke, but Shinsuke needed this win. Personally.
Yes.
No.
Because of gender. Entirely, he could have not had this win if not for the gender situation. If he had not lost to gender for two pay-per-views in a row and just got wrecked and just screwed over there, he could have won this match, lost to AJ, and it would have been okay. Because if you look at the grand scheme, they made a big deal about their Tokyo Dome, New Japan, Wrestle Kingdom match when AJ lost to Shinsuke.
Right.
If AJ beats Shinsuke here, which he does, and then they have a third match because now they're even in the series, and it's a big deal. And this was a dream. They were pegging it as a dream match, which it was. This is the match everybody wanted as soon as they both showed up in the WWE. They were like, we could have AJ versus Shinsuke at WrestleMania.
That's actually what AJ said on a podcast recently.
Well, I mean, that was the thing. And once they tied that in, they locked it in. It was happening because fans went yes. And then they had this match, and honestly, it was not their best match. It was slow because the build was bad.
Right.
I don't know why they took the way they did the build they did, but they did two faces sort of playing with each other and not really having any heat on it. So the fans weren't into it as much as they could. Not to mention the fact that we're so late in the show at this point, fans are exhausted. The crowd's exhausted. So
the energy
that's going to be the rest of the night, and the crowd does affect the match. So this match was not the best match they could have. Now, granted, here's the best thing. I'm okay with AJ winning because, again, I'm a huge AJ fan. He's my favorite currently active wrestler out there. He's one of, if not my favorite. However, Nakamura's heel turn after the match was like a shot of fresh air.
And you saw it, to me, I saw it coming.
Yeah, well,
because of what happened with Asuka.
Yeah, and they took so much time with that ending part where he was handing him the title and stuff. And unless, in a way, maybe that's why they built the Asuka ending where she was so nice about it.
Right.
Just to build this.
Yeah.
But I will say that, a weird note, both winners of the Rumble this year were Japanese and both lost.
Yeah.
And that's weird. And it's kind of, But his heel turn was unexpected overall, and needed.
Yeah.
His character did need a little something now, because since he came up to SmackDown, he's been kind of lackluster. Not on his part,
Right.
the booking. And then, especially seeing SmackDown last Tuesday and seeing his heel work there, it was beautiful.
Was very entertaining.
When he did the no speak English,
yeah,
it was perfect. I want to see. I've seen Shinsuke heel in New Japan when he was part of the Chaos faction, and it was weird because when they fought last time, they were both heels because AJ was Bullet Club and Shinsuke was Chaos, and they were both heels. So I've seen New Japan heel versus heel, and now I've seen WWE face versus face. I can't wait to see WWE face versus heel.
Right.
The third match in the series, it will be the rubber match, and going with what they're doing now, it could be amazing. And I'm excited for that. So this heel turn was not a bad thing. Him losing here wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Had they done what I expected, and if Shinsuke lost and they just were like, well, you were the better man tonight, shucks, and they moved on and he was still a face, it would have been absolutely worthless for him, and it would have been a waste of a match.
Now, for me, maybe it's because I don't watch that often. I felt like it was a really entertaining match watching these guys go.
Well, no, it was.
Yeah, and I'm with you on AJ Styles. Like, out of the men's roster, I feel like he's probably the best thing they've got right now. I've loved him back since the early TNA days.
Mm-hmm.
But Shinsuke Nakamura, I don't have that much of a repertoire with. I haven't seen a lot of his matches outside of WWE, and so watching him in this match, awesome. He was great.
And, looking back at AJ's career, who would have thought, looking at him in TNA and going, that guy's going to actually have a WWE world title at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And defend it successfully.
Especially the way his career was going there for like the latter half of his time spent at TNA.
I mean,
they were treating him like a joke.
And you just the idea that WB would let a guy who was basically a TNA guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and you got Samoa Joe, who's also a big deal in WWE now, who was a TNA guy. But the idea that they would let somebody break that barrier, because for a long time you didn't break that barrier.
Right.
So it's nice to see that.
I would say that's Triple H's intervention.
It is. Yeah. It is entirely Triple H who's bringing in all these indie guys and other Federation guys, because Vince wouldn't push these guys. No. When AJ first got there, Vince didn't like him. He wasn't going to do anything. That's why he lost his first WrestleMania to Jericho.
Yeah.
It's purely Vince. And then when he saw how the fans reacted, he went, I have made a mistake. You actually are important. Let's make you bigger. And that's why he got the world title when he did.
Yeah. Now, I don't see not giving Shinsuke the title here, because AJ has had his time. He's built his reputation in the WWE. Now's the time, if ever. But like you said, there is the rubber match to look forward to, and that would be a great time to do it as well.
That's like I said, like when you see the heel Shinsuke versus face AJ, I think we're going to get as good, if not a better match. So as long as it pays off in the long run, he needed something. I thought it was the title here, but the heel turn will do exactly the same thing I wanted. Because Shinsuke either needed that title or he needed the heel turn.
Yeah.
Like, he needed something from this match. AJ didn't need either.
Now,
so it was kind of a, what are their long-term plans?
I think another thing that this match suffered from was the match that came after it, which was the Raw Tag Team Championship. We mentioned how the energy was kind of waning in the latter half of the show. And this is what just kind of really took it to a dead stop. This was Braun Strowman and Nicholas, a boy he pulled from the crowd after having this whole who's going to be his partner thing, versus The Bar, which if you're not familiar with them, that's that's Sheamus and what's the other guy? Cesaro. Yes, and
Who are a better tag team than I would have ever guessed.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Cesaro can be. Cesaro's a great tag team wrestler. It's what he spent a lot of his time in the Indies, and Cesaro is a great wrestler in general. And Sheamus is kind of like, he's a hit or miss guy with me. Like, depending on what he's being, he's a better heel than a face.
You got to turn
he's
the brightness
down
on the TV.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Well, I mean, that's what the hair's for.
Right.
That's why the hair's so bright.
Yeah.
It's so you can know where he's at.
Yeah. He's a better wrestler than he is a Bebop. That's for sure.
I didn't hate him as Bebop. I'm gonna be real. I actually enjoyed them.
He was Rocksteady.
Yes,
he was Rocksteady.
I will say Nicholas is undefeated. at WrestleMania. So good for
This
him.
is true.
Youngest WWE champion ever.
Yep.
I think it'll stay that way unless they bring out an
He
infant
looked
at some
scared
point.
to death up there, did he?
He was apparently he is referee John Cone's child.
Is that what it is?
Is-
I mean, I
he's
figured
a
he'd be a
referee
plant, but yeah.
But here's the thing, like, there's a lot of opinion. I've seen a lot of opinion where they said this was a great WrestleMania moment for that kid, yada yada. Don't crap on it. Wrestling's for kids, yada yada.
Right.
But I don't see it that way. Here's my issue with the kid thing. As a fan, well, one, I've heard so many people dog on any kind of wrestling involving children and animals and things of that nature.
Right.
Like, that's always been dogged on. So the fact that WWE would have a kid in the match and recognize it and let it happen,
Right.
it's weird to me. I will say that. So now everybody who's ever had an issue with the Kenny Omega match against the girl and stuff, like the 9-year-old girl in Japan
Right.
and whatever one he was in, anyone who's ever had a problem with that, if they're okay with this, despite the fact that there's no physicality, I'm gonna be like, you're a hypocrite,
Right.
Because you can't get involved. You can't let this happen. But I disliked it because yes, that kid's got a great WrestleMania moment. That kid.
Yeah.
But all the other people watching from home, watching at the arena, who speculated and thought this was going to be a big reveal of a returning superstar or somebody who was even, funny joke like James Ellsworth or something of that nature.
Right.
All of us instead went, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I would have bought and been okay with Braun Strowman defeating the Bar by himself. They built him that way.
Right.
Okay, that's what I expected. But they teased this and they took time to it. It's just like the Undertaker thing. They built all this time into it, one direction, and then in the end they did this thing. And then just to have Braun and him drop the titles for free, like without a match, to just abandon the titles the direct night on Raw because of scheduling conflicts.
What a waste! Like to do.
It's a waste of a WrestleMania
I agree
moment.
with everything
Right.
you say about like why this doesn't work at WrestleMania, but the only way you could make it work is to capitalize on it, keep it going, make a story out of it. But they didn't even do that. It just felt like such a huge waste. And again, it brought the show to kind of a grinding halt.
Well, he took 7-8 minutes to find the kid
Yeah.
in that huge crowd because he wasn't up against he wasn't up close. He was back in the crowd.
Right.
And now somebody made a joke of that. They thought it would be funny that before he relinquished the titles, they thought it would be funny, or if the new gimmick was every show that he had to defend the titles, he would go into the crowd and find a random kid. And he would just kidnap a random kid and make him the partner,
Right.
and then just beat up whoever he was beating up. And I'm like, well, if that's what they were going to do, I'm for this.
Yeah.
If they're going to make it a long-term thing and like give him a gimmick where he's literally wrestling by himself, but to fulfill his obligation, he's got a different random child from the audience,
Right.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
But the fact that he just gave up the titles literally buried the entire Raw tag division. And yeah, I know the word buried is like a triggering word for a lot of wrestling fans, but I really feel like they did, because not only did he absolutely destroy all of the tag division by himself going into it to win the number one contendership anyway, he then beat the tag team champions by himself.
Right.
Yeah.
With a weird little moment where he tagged the kid in and then tagged himself back in and then just killed Cesaro anyway.
Right.
But like, it literally just is like, okay, this is what we think of our tag division.
I still think, though, this match generated the best commentary line of the night, which was, how's he going to defend this? He's probably got algebra and stuff.
Well, I mean, they capitalized that on Raw when they relinquished it. Sorry, he's got scheduling conflicts.
Yeah.
What? Like what?
It's
Like
bedtime.
homework.
Yeah.
He's got school. He's still in the 4th grade is what he's at. And then the kid did the catch these hands line, and it was
Right.
cute.
It's not
Everybody
like-
popped for that, so yeah, that's cute.
It's
and
not like
everything.
we got nothing out of this. It's just, it really was a waste on the card.
This is the match that should
This
have
is
been
how they
the
got him to
pre-
midnight.
This is a pre-show match.
Yes, this is
Like
yes.
the earlier
That
tag
would be
match,
right.
tag team title match, you said this didn't need to be here. This is the match that
Yeah.
didn't need to be here.
Yeah.
If they were going to do this is a pre-show, haha, fun match. Nobody has to care about because it was pre-show.
Right.
We have all this other stuff happening.
I totally agree with that. Next and finally was our main event of the night, the big WWE Universal Championship match. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns.
You can just hear it from the entire
no,
panel.
guys, I'm really excited to talk about this match.
Can we
was-
just say Brock Lesnar
so
won
good.
again, and then we
Yeah,
move on to something
well,
more exciting?
That one's a given. We could have just moved on to the end of the show. People would have already known that.
Here's my thing. I generally like Roman overall. This was and before Seth Rollins cashed in 31, I think it was 31, when Roman and Brock fought.
Right.
And Rollins cashed in. Before that, they were having a decent match. It could have been a good match.
Yeah.
This could have been a good match. Unfortunately, I think, especially given what's coming out afterwards, this match was entirely set up to shock the fans because everyone expected Roman to win.
Right.
He's going to win at the Greatest Rumble and take the title there because apparently he's really well liked in Saudi Arabia. I don't know why they thought that was going to be a good idea, or this match was even a good idea if they felt they weren't going to get a good response. And they changed the match multiple times during the day and all kinds of stuff. But here's my problem with the match, disregarding anything outside of the match itself. The booking of the match. Roman hit, I'd say, upwards of 7 or 8 spears. Mm-hmm. And I'd say 8 or 9 Superman punches.
Where he looks like he's fisting somebody.
Yes. He's cocking his fist.
Cocking his fist.
If you just think about those terms.
It reminds me of 22 Jump Street. You know,
yeah.
It's like,
but
you know,
he hit a billion finishers and couldn't win.
Yeah.
Roman himself took 6 total F5s, one of which through a table. He took the elbows to bust open the head, which, funny thought about that, Brock took off his hand tape to elbow him in the head. I don't know what that accomplished. In retrospect, I assume that's where
he was losing circulation.
I assume that's where he hid the blade.
And
that's what I think happened.
This was the one moment of the match that grabbed me because I was bored up to it and I was a little bored after it. But when Roman started pouring that blood, and I mean,
that was a lot of aspirin right before that match.
Oh my goodness!
I wouldn't have been surprised if someone was up in the rafters pouring some blood down on his head.
It's
Gangrel.
so
much.
It's Gangrel with his Gangrel with his comeback.
Yeah.
With his bloodbath comeback.
Yes,
haven't seen it forever.
It was all over him. It was all over Brock. It was all over everything. I'm sure it got on some of the fans.
It's just okay. So they build up the F5 as the end all be all finishers.
Yeah.
Braun Strowman dominated Lesnar, lost to 1 F5. AJ dominated Strowman, lost to 1 F5. Goldberg lost to an F5. Samoa Joe dominated Lesnar, lost to an F5. Roman took 6. He took 4 regular, 1 through a table, and then the final one, he ran the spear into the F5 after having his face busted open and lasting another minute.
Which was a good connection.
In blood. I mean, the overall, that particular moveset, that combo was really well wrestled.
Yeah.
Right.
That was a good counter setup. I liked that, sure. But they built this up as this unstoppable finisher, and then he ate 6 of them, and I think they overbooked it. If you're going to give Roman the rub and say, well, Roman's tougher than everybody because he can take more F5s than you, then you don't let 1 F5 kill everyone and then let him take 6 to lose.
Right.
I don't care if, I wanted Brock to lose because I want Brock gone. Because I don't like Brock. I think he's a giant troll-looking ogre guy. He's a jerk to fans. He's a jerk to people.
Yeah.
And he's never there. And I want to see what I want. You know what I wanted out of this? I wanted Roman to win, get the title. He can have his title. Vince got his champion like he wanted. Yeah. And then next month at Backlash, next month at Backlash, he loses it to Samoa Joe or whatever, or loses it to somebody. Maybe he gets to defend it for 2-3 months, but then eventually in a couple months he loses it. But more importantly, those next 2 or 3 pay-per-views, it gets defended.
Yeah.
The next few Monday Night Raws, we see the title. We don't hear about the title holder and know he's going to be here in 4 months.
Right.
I that's what I wanted out of the match.
Of course, Brock wants to go back to MMA anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, they played that up pretty good. Maybe he's gonna. But remember, he still got
re-signed.
He's re-signed, but they didn't say for how long.
Oh.
And the catch is, he's still suspended from MMA for another 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
So ideally, he stays till the end of the month. He signs for this last match and a couple more appearances. He loses the title to Roman. He gets his big paycheck. Then he does go off to MMA. But now he does it in the sense that he has time to go train.
Right. Because
he can't directly go back into MMA. So this kills that time gap. Because he does this, the end of the month, he's done.
Yeah.
And then he has time to train, and he's not just sitting for a month doing nothing.
Right.
So in and of itself, when you look at all that stuff, it is what it is. But I just want him gone. And this match was just long. When I said earlier that the Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Ronda Rousey, Kurt Angle match was 5 minutes too long, this one was 15.
Yeah.
This should have been a Goldberg match. This should have been a Lesnar match in the sense that he suplexes Roman 6-7 times, which he did. I think he did 6 Germans and like 1 or 2 others, other variations. Roman Superman punches him a few times, spears him a couple times. He kicks out. He F5s Roman. Roman kicks out. It's oh my god. You have the moment, the motherfucker moment he did in WrestleMania. Like, he kicked out. Nobody kicks out. And then an F5 off the top rope or a second F5. Maybe even a third. Maybe he does the thing he did a while back. He did to somebody where they kicked out of an F5, so he did 2 in a row right after that just to make sure. Like, so Roman eats 3 F5s, kicks out of the second one, doesn't kick out of the third one. He's now eaten 300% F5s successfully than everybody else.
Right.
Instead, we get Roman literally getting 6 F5s to everybody's 1 to be beat.
They're trying to
And they have made him
to, bill him as his punch.
Yeah, they have made him like unstoppable, and the fans don't like it.
Yeah.
And and that's great. And Monday Night Raw, they capitalized on this. Samoa Joe cut a great promo on him about it. And you know what? I hope that WWE sees this and goes, okay, let's pull the trigger. Let's make Reigns a despicable douchebag heel. Let's play off the hate.
Yeah.
And I bet you turn that around and Reigns becomes the most well-liked character in the company.
Now, for me in this match, there was nothing special going into it. I had no dog in this fight. I don't like either of the guys. I am the odd man out who just does not get what it is about Roman Reigns. I've seen more than enough of his matches to form this opinion. I don't think he sells his opponents very well. I think his moveset is boring and overdone, and the Superman punch is just fucking stupid. I don't get it. Everyone, and I know I'm wrong, because all the wrestlers and all the podcasts that I listen to all love this guy, think he's great, and that he's got a huge future. I just don't see it. So,
well, I would say this as far as his movesets and stuff goes. His Superman punch itself isn't bad. I hate when he cocks his fist. That needs to go.
I hate the whole thing.
He does some really good moves that I think he should do more often. He does a really good powerbomb that he actually starts with a crucifix pose, and he powerbombs them over his head into a sit-out.
Well, maybe
he does it on bigger guys, like not really big guys. But
maybe it's the other side of the fence thing where, like, I know that Cena can go. But if I were to see Cena for the first time as he is now and then watch enough of his matches, I'd probably hate him too. But I know what he's capable of.
Cena,
I have that rapport.
Roman is the new Cena. That's the thing you have to understand. And honestly, them not going that hard and them doing these same set moves and stuff, that's a WWE thing. That is a WWE problem.
But I've never seen him do that, though. I've never seen him go the distance. I've never seen him pull out all the stops.
He did a series of matches with AJ. Defending the world title when he had it against AJ 2 years ago, I think, a year and a half ago, whatever, before the SmackDown move.
Yeah.
And they had some amazing matches because AJ can bring a good match on anybody.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But Roman was good there. And he has some good moves. The problem is he does stuff like he does the spear as a finisher. I personally, outside of Rhino and Goldberg, I hate when I see people do spears.
Yeah. Edge, maybe.
I hated Edge's spear. Edge had the worst spear. He just wrapped his arm around you and laid you down gently. Yeah. Charlotte Flair does a good spear. When Big Show does a spear, it's cool.
Yeah.
Because he's a massive dude. When he slams into you.
That Big Show has the spear all the time, yeah.
Like, I've seen him do when he did the spear. Like, it's like, that dude is too big not to hurt you, even if he gently laid you down. But Edge's spear was the worst. And, like, it's become a thing where, like, for a while there, everybody did a spear as a finisher. And I hate it. Like, I like the spear overall, but I hate seeing it as often as we do.
Yeah.
I think Roman, being a big guy like he is and getting his athletic ability, there are plenty of finishers he could do. That sit-out powerbomb, money. I think that's a finisher. He's never won with it. But, like, the idea that he tosses a dude over his head and powerbombs him with a sit-out, how is that not a finisher compared to the spear? Like, given his mass, how is he not doing something better? I like the drive-by he does when they're laying on the apron and he drop kicks them onto the apron and he just lays there all cocky.
Right.
That's a great move.
Yeah.
The Superman punch, like I said, the actual punch itself, not bad. get rid of the cocking motion first.
Yeah.
That is terrible. The fact that he has to rev it up every time. His outfit absolutely needs a new look. He needs a new look. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I hate the combat gear, and especially the fake padding he's got.
Yeah.
And everybody, like I've heard lots of people complain about how it looks like he's wearing a combat vest. Which, why are you wearing armor?
Right.
Like, of course you can kick out of a power bomb onto the stairs. You have a padded suit on. You have you're like a Kevlar vest.
Tactical gear. Yeah.
Like, of course you can do that. Like, and it just needs to go away. Actually, what I'd like to see, like fantasy booking wise, the Authors of Pain kicked Paul Ellering to the curb when they joined Raw this week. They are too huge. I'm not sure what racially. They're maybe Samoan. They're darker skinned.
In the wrestling game, it's easy to assume that.
Well, I mean, they may not be, but they're Toka and Razor, I believe. Because it's actually like Razor and Akira or Akeem or something. But
I was gonna say, wait a minute, Ninja Turtles too?
Yeah. Like, I called them for the longest time because I couldn't remember their actual names, but their names really are like Reza and Akar or whatever. And it's like, so I just kept calling them Token and Reza. But they're too big. They're two big, massive dudes that are okay wrestlers. They got some cool moves. They're double powerbomb. That's not their finisher.
Right.
And then they have the leg drop thing. It's,
the leg drop?
no, it's a.
Shades of Hulk Hogan.
It's not the stroke, the regular one.
It's not the stroke.
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett did the stroke where he's like
So
face
wait a
down.
minute,
But it's
the regular leg drop. They're not having a stroke.
Russian leg sweep. So they do a Russian leg sweep with a running lariat. So the other guy, like, as he's doing the Russian leg sweep, the other guy does the running lariat, and they call it the last chapter because they're the Authors of Pain, and they come from the Book of Pain, I guess, or whatever. But they got rid of Paul Ellering this week, so now they're on their own. But they wear tactical gear as their gimmick.
Right. And
I would love to see heel faction, Roman, and these two big monsters that they've made into monster heels.
Right.
How awesome would it be to see Roman go, why I wear the tactical gear? Because I was in the Shield, but now I'm in this faction with these two bodyguard dudes, and now I'm going to be not only am I like cocky douchebag heel Miz style, but I'm also a big, massive, strong guy. So I am like all kinds of bad news.
Right.
And I'm like, that would be amazing to see. It's never going to happen, but
I'm going to start wearing tactical gear when I do commentary.
Right?
Do it.
Every time.
Part of my gig.
It's definitely safer.
I'm going to do it every time I make coffee.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
It's what could happen? You never know.
Ultimately, though, this match did not deliver. It doesn't matter who you like, who you don't, whether you like both or none. It just was not special. Here's what this match gave somebody. It gave WWE some sweet images to put on WWE.com.
I don't think there were sweet images.
Oh, that
There's Roman's bloody face, like
that moment.
The
where
crimson mask face, and he was screaming at him.
Face,
I guess that was a good looking moment.
That's something you could put in your banner photo.
Speaking of images, I'll tell you, going back to Charlotte and Asuka, the suplex out onto the floor off the apron, and they were in on Charlotte's face, and you could hear her saying she couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see her mouth. She's like, I can't breathe.
I bet that knocked the wind out.
Oh yeah, easy.
Those women.
Now I will say this. Here's my summation of WrestleMania as a whole.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to set that up, but whatever. Let's just jump right into it.
Segue.
Yeah. In summation,
we're running this show.
Stu, as you were.
In summation, do you want to see really awesome wrestling produced by the WWE? Then watch TakeOver New Orleans that came on the night before, because that show was amazing. That was some of the best matches I've seen. And Dave Meltzer gave 2 of the matches on the card 5 stars. And that's a rarity for WWE match to get 5 stars at all. Right. Not only that, but 2 of them in the same night.
From Meltzer.
So, yeah. And the last time he gave a WWE match 5 stars was the same guy who was in the main event of this at the last TakeOver. And then before that, it was CM Punk and John Cena.
Right.
So that's how long ago he gave a 5-star, because he loves New Japan way more than WWE.
Right.
A lot of people do.
So the fact that he gave 2 matches on TakeOver 5 stars it's a miracle.
Right.
But the show was from top to bottom amazing, and the opening match of that was a 6-man ladder match for the new North American title that they created, and that was bonkers. I'm pretty sure EC3 died 3 or 4 times in that match. He may actually just be dead now.
Right.
Like, he ate some dumb stuff. He ate a super kick off a ladder. Or no, that was a different thing. But at one point, like during that, like it's just so many crazy things happened. But at one point, like one of the best things I've seen in wrestling maybe ever, because of how weird and out of nowhere it is. Ricochet is on the ladder, and Ricochet's a really good indie guy, or was. Now he's an NXT guy. But he's on the ladder trying to climb for it, and Lars Sullivan pushes the ladder over. So they do the spot where he falls onto the people.
Right.
But he doesn't fall onto the people. He sees that he's falling, looks back one time to check his positioning, and moonsaults off the ladder while it's falling.
Wow.
That is the legit thing that happened in that match.
Why am I watching Raw and SmackDown?
And then also in that match, they did the set up the ladder and put somebody through it match.
Yeah.
They did it twice, but they put everybody through it. Because they laid it out, laid a guy on it, then one of the two huge guys in the match picked up the other guy and jumped through the guy on the ladder with both of them. And then the other guy was like, oh, you're going to do that. Let me do the same. And did the same thing. And he did a sit-out leg drop landing on the guy's chest, slamming the other guy down like head first.
Jesus.
Oh, my God.
That match was bonkers. And Velveteen Dream did to Ricochet a rolling Death Valley driver on a ladder that was stuck through a ladder.
Oh, my God.
He did a rolling Death Valley driver on the ladder.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it was ridiculous. That's one of the matches that got 5 stars.
I have, like at RCW shows too, same thing. Watching ladder matches with guys like Aaron Draven and some of the other guys. Their names are Flash Fury, another one that just put their bodies through absolute torture, and they do it all for the entertainment of the fans.
Yeah, I mean,
you gotta love that. That's why we fell in love with the Hardy Boys.
That's the thing you gotta give local wrestling that I think people don't. People always hark on local wrestling. They're like, well, dude made $20, maybe he got fed a burrito. Right. And that's true. That they don't get paid a lot of money. That's real. I understand that. But that's the thing you have to understand about local wrestling. And I don't call it amateur. There's a reason.
Right.
Local wrestling versus the professional wrestling of WWE, Ring of Honor, New Japan and stuff. Those guys make a lot of money. So yeah, they put their bodies on the line. Yeah. But they get money. They get compensated money wise. The guys who do it on the local level who haven't made it up to the WWE level or whatever, not saying skill wise, but just in purely where they're at wrestling. Right. Those guys don't make that much, but they love wrestling.
Oh yeah.
You don't wrestle at that level if you just want to make money as a wrestler.
That is the foundations of this podcast. because we don't make money off of this. We just like sitting around talking about this shit, so we figured why not do it for other people too. So yeah, I totally get that.
As a hardcore wrestling fan was going to listen to this.
You know, that may be the only people who does.
We've got no illustrious.
Gee, I wonder if the new owners of the station will let me link to it.
If he maybe cuts out all the language.
We've made so many sex jokes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what your editing's for.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me. Look at this. 2 hours.
Yeah, but you got to remember that there's probably about 15 minutes of us sitting around jibber jabber.
Still, that's like 4 hours of
just
editing.
Let it roll.
I'm gonna
just let it roll.
I'm slapping the editing. I'm slapping the intros and outros on. And
just let it roll.
Cut out that chunk where you messed up the Intercontinental title.
Nope. It's going on there. I don't have time for it.
Folks, this is done edited. Deal with it.
That's right.
But no, okay. So, Sean, what did you think overall?
I thought it was. It had its moments. I was really pleased with how the women performed all the way around.
Yes.
I thought their performances really brought the level of the pay-per-view up much better than they have in the past.
I would agree. 100%.
I think the quality of their matches were phenomenal. Just
I would
phenomenal.
say the same thing about the Rumble. Yeah.
Royal Rumble, the women's Rumble, was fantastic, and it's I think so. I think now we're due for what next year is going to be a letdown, like a real letdown, because it seems like they go in these cycles.
Well, next year's probably what I expect next year, given the cycle that they're doing currently. Yeah, next year main event's a woman. It's Rousey main eventing.
Probably
against Charlotte, most likely. Yeah, in the main event of WrestleMania for the first time ever.
Right,
because they've literally done every first they can.
And now what Charlotte needs to try to do is Charlotte needs to try to kick Rousey upside the head, but this time Rousey sees it coming and ducks.
I don't think I'm call that move. Work.
I'm gonna call that move. Watch that.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, she's gonna go for like an enziguri or something or whatever, or Shining Wizard.
Well, Charlotte actually does a head kick. She does like a standing side boot kind of deal.
Yeah, right.
Not a super kick so much as just like a big boot almost.
Right.
Yeah, it's actually a big boot. She bounces off the ropes and everything. So it's like old school Hogan.
She's tall enough for it.
And so she does a big boot. So Like that's what we're gonna see.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
what
move.
Holly Holm did to Rousey was like a shining wizard, and where it was a boot to the side of the head, where she kicked her to the side of the head. So see, that's what I'm saying. Is
Funny
that,
story.
is that
That's exactly how
Charlotte's
Charlotte
gonna-
lost her title.
It was a boot to the head.
It was literally a boot to the head, a side boot to the head. It
Well, there
was
you go.
because Carmella literally kicked her in the head.
Well, there you go.
She did a running side kick to the head,
Right.
Which is not a move I've never seen her do. So maybe they're setting that up. Maybe
telling you.
they're
I'm
like both of these women lost their title.
Lost their title
To this
because of
boot
the
to the head.
Yeah.
So
So and then
we'll-
they start playing the song from Dr. Demento,
Yeah,
boot to the head.
Yeah,
Bring it all the way
Taekwondo
around.
leap, boot to the head. I love that song. It's great.
Ultimately, this was a very disappointing Royal Rumble. There were some great moments.
You mean WrestleMania?
Yeah.
He'll edit that one out.
Now let me see, 214. Whether I'm watching wrestling regularly, which like the last few years has not been a thing for me, for good. I feel for good reason. I always catch WrestleMania. I always catch the Royal Rumble. And this one in recent years just really fell flat. It was really a big disappointment overall.
It was a great start, but a bad end.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how bad the
It's
end
a
was.
2/3.
The old ball and chain fell asleep partway through the AJ Styles match.
Well, see, that's the thing about the AJ Styles match that, like I mentioned earlier, like I like the match because I like the wrestlers.
Yeah.
But if you're a casual fan, that match was slow and boring.
Right. Yeah.
Because there are people I know that literally watched it and were like, why was this a big deal? Why were people calling this a dream match?
Right.
But people who like wrestling, who like watch like religiously practically, you're like, this was a really
This was a
technical match.
modern day Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat. type
Yeah,
match.
and you know, and a casual fan can't watch that kind of match.
Right.
It's boring to them because it's slow. It's
Yeah.
it's a psychology match versus a work rate match.
Right.
And really, that's what the problem was. Is that everyone expected a work rate match,
Right.
You know what
not a psychology match.
What I think people should like, though? I think they should like this episode if they liked it. I think they should
should.
subscribe if they loved it. But if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that bell below to let you know when any of the newest videos come up, like how I just went at the end.
Segway.
Don't forget to comment any of your WrestleMania thoughts down below. And also, again, share this episode on social media. Let people know about us. Especially if you made it this far, there's got to be something you were holding on to. Share it with the people. Again, my guy, that'll end.
Do we need to take over for you?
No.
Here, hang on. Comment your WrestleMania's thoughts. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I thought it said mantis at first.
Yeah,
I was like, what's a WrestleMantis?
yeah.
For that being the only typo in this entire
Yeah.
outline,
Yeah, not bad.
as quickly as it was put together.
Which
Not
is
too
only
bad.
the only one he noticed.
Right, right.
Guys, my name is Vincent Herman, Vin the Human.
Stewart Perkins.
And Sean King.
And go ahead and keep it kayfabe with that badass outro music.
And if you like it, tell him, and maybe we'll come back.
And subscribe.
That when I say music, that's when the music hits.
I know, but you just put it right over top of us and everything, and we just talk, and it fades out and the music fades in.
Yeah, listen to the radio sometimes.
Yeah, good lord, man!
Or listen to Sean on the radio. That's
I
how
know,
they
for
do
God's
it.
sakes, I know how this kind of shit works.
Or after 39 episodes, I'll just do it on outro music.